Okay. Part 2.
Is it filming?
Yeah.
Oh shit, cut that out. Please.
No,
I know
it's
you.
fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, part 2. Show it.
Okay. I have a little notebook as well with some notes.
Yeah.
So if I'm ever looking down, it's just dot points so I remember what I've thought about in the past.
So funny, you're like facing the camera. Do I look at me? Do I look at you?
Well, I want to look at I'm telling them. Whoever.
How did it feel to be on the first time? Before, during, after?
Well, oh God, I really, really could not listen back on that episode. It made me die inside a little bit. I think just because everyone hates the sound of their own voice. And everyone just hates how they speak and what they talk about. And yeah, but this time I'm more excited for this episode because it's less so about my life story and discussing all that and more so about just conversations that have been brought up with us sort of recently and just what we generally discuss when we're on phone calls or whatever. So it feels maybe more natural and I won't cringe as much because it's not as much about maybe my personal life and things. It's more so about just discussions, I think, this episode.
Very podcasty pod. Yeah. I feel everyone I talk to regularly on the phone and stuff, it just feels like a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want this one to be more like. I'm less nervous about it.
Okay, good. Well, first thing, I mean, you've been very busy since the last step. When was the last step? Like September or something?
I think I feel like I've changed a lot since then, but also not at all. I still resonate with a lot of the things I said, but maybe I guess everyone changes a lot in maturity and things like that, but I feel more like an adult now a bit.
Well, the main thing I feel like has been going on and been topic of our discussions has been your involvement in the death industry.
Jumping straight into it. Okay.
Because you've been always... When was the first time you said, oh, maybe I want to be a mortician?
I think the first time I actually said it was actually... The first time I conceptualized the idea as, you know what I mean, as an actual thing rather than just a vague thought was actually after a few wines in London. And I don't remember who was there, but it was at our cousin's, George's place, and yeah, there were a few friends, family, all that. And one of the questions asked was, what job would you do if no jobs had any pay? They were all sort of, you just did a job just for the job, not for a salary or anything like that. And after a few wines, my thought was, oh, I'd love to be a mortician. Everyone's like, Jesus Christ, what on earth? Everyone thought I was going to say like zookeeper or I don't know.
How old were you?
Maybe 18 or 19.
Okay.
So fairly recently, but I think before that it was always an interest and something I looked into a little bit, but not really as a career. I just liked the idea. I don't know how to exactly, it was sort of just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, like, where does that even come from though? Like, what's the appeal?
Well,
in that idea, that
so
thought?
Mum sent me a few years ago, maybe when I was like 18 or 17 or something, she sent me, which might have reignited it, as in when I was 18 and thought about it more so, but it was in really scribbly big letters that a child writes because I was 7 or something, and I wrote my funeral plan, and I was like 7, it was all in pencil colours and all done really, really big, you know, and that's sort of the thing I would do all the time. As a child, I'd always think about what songs I would play, like Taylor Swift songs. I would listen to Taylor Swift songs and be like, this one's going in my funeral.
While all the other girls are planning their wedding.
I was still doing that. I planned every single event probably ever, but in my head. But, which is really ironic because I don't like hosting. So
That's mental.
I plan all these events in my head I love the idea of hosting, and actually hosting is a nightmare. I think it comes really naturally to some people and not to others. But yeah, so
That's like a stoic exercise of really meditating on the idea of how your funeral goes, who shows up, what they say, what your tombstone says, and it kind of puts you in the present moment of where your priorities are at.
And I remember being like 9 or something and in a car trip, I don't know who with, and it was definitely with mum and someone else, and I was young, and I was like really excited to talk about what tombstone I want and really creative with it, and I've always wanted, it would be so expensive, so this would never happen, but a marble sphere with water and then like my name engraved in the marble sphere, and then sort of like a koi fish pond around the sphere. And just really...
I'm sure that could happen. That
Oh
seems
God, that would be like 100k maybe. It'd be a lot,
How
but...
are you going to do that money otherwise though?
But big sphere. Now I want sort of like an angel. I really like those old classic big angel statues that you see in cemeteries. They always catch my eye. And I always take little like photos of the angels, and I think they're so cute. And I have a mini angel statue on my bedside table. One of those ones that's sort of like cracked and stony. And
have you talked to other people since? Because I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever thought or considered my own funeral or tombstone or anything.
I don't
Is that a
understand
normal
how.
thing, like amongst your
I
friends?
don't think so. Everyone, when I would say it as a child, everyone was like, oh, that's morbid. Don't think about your death. You're so young. You're 9 years old.
Sounds like a grandma thing.
Yeah, you're not going to die anytime soon. But I was always like, oh, you guys are ruining the fun. Like it's not that death is a fun thing, but it's just, like I didn't see it ever as a morbid thing because it's just promised to you. It's like, why wouldn't I think about this? It's the one thing that's promised. Why wouldn't I plan for it? I don't know. It just made no sense to me why everyone was always so scared to talk about death and all those things when every single one of us is going to die. Everything dies. Cycle of life.
Okay, so I think I might have said this to you before on one of those calls that you mentioned, but it was an idea I came across. Someone said it in some pod or whatever, and I was like, whoa, that's so true. That our culture, our society, and as you're saying, members of your family and stuff kind of implant that onto you, is people say all the time, like, you know, as a society we're scared of death, and most people try to deny it, but I think a lot of people certainly act as if they were scared of death, whether they like to admit that in their words or not. But at the very least, our society is set up in a way to shield us from death and the reality and the nature of it. And the example they used was like, in the third world, there'll be, I mean, apart from stray dogs and stuff dying everywhere, there'll be a car crash, you know, a motorbike accident or something, and the person's pretty screwed up on the side of the road. And that's just kind of, everyone sees that, and they don't have amazing infrastructures for emergency services and whatnot. So that might be a motorcyclist just like dead on the road for half a day, you know, everyone's kind of going to work past him. Whereas here, immediately the ambulances are on it, there's police, there's cordoned off, the lane of the freeway is closed up, no one sees anything, right? The media is like, you know, not allowed to look in. And then the professional, like they move the body, professional washers clean the road, and then an hour later,
There's nothing
people
there.
are driving straight over that same place, right? And I was like, wow, yeah, we really take extreme lengths
to hide it and keep
to
it
hide
under
it.
the rug.
Yeah.
I also think that obviously there's good things about that, and definitely like you don't want everyone to witness things, but also it makes it, I think, more traumatizing for people, and people are more sensitive to death. If someone witnesses or finds a dead body, it in Western society it becomes a very traumatic experience for them, which like I can agree with, it's not their fault or anything. I'm not saying it's not traumatizing, but
it's going from 0 to 100.
It's because it's so like, oh my God,
well, there's no
this
steps
is so
along,
unusual.
Yeah, there's no steps along the way even. Like, you know, no one's willing to hunt and butcher meat and all that stuff. So that might be 10, 20, 30.
Yeah, even when I tell people like, oh, we saw our grandma dead because she died in her bed and we were sort of the ones to find her, thought she was asleep. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so hard. But it's so natural. If there's an elderly person living in your house, someone's going to find them dead, usually in history. But everyone acts like so shocked.
Nowadays, we put them into aged care rather than
it would be like, oh my
multi-generational.
God, you shouldn't have seen that as a young child. But through history, why wouldn't you have seen that? That's just natural. And I think that experience almost maybe shaped how I think about death, because I thought it was really nice that we got to witness that and we held her hand in bed, and then the emergency services came after. As a family, we had our moment with her body. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people would just have someone pass away, as you said, in a nursing home or hospital or somewhere where it's all very, they're immediately taken, well, not immediately, but you know what I mean? It's just a less of a homey, natural environment.
It's commercially privatized away from family, community, individuals. It's like yet another service that can be paid for.
Yeah, even the funeral home service, you're literally, like what I'm working in now, is you're paying people so you don't have to deal with the body and death.
Yeah.
Because no one wants, if say your family member dies and there was no funeral home services, you would be the one to, you know, transport the body and get a coffin for them.
A lot of cultures, they just have them sitting there for a few days, right?
Yeah, they do, like, because funeral homes, especially in Australia, they usually aren't for a specific culture. There's a few that do variety. So then in different cultures, they act accordingly to whatever that family wants to do. So yeah, they'll leave the body out in the family home for a day or whatever.
What kind of cultures do that, do you know? Or?
I haven't worked with that one. I've heard about the burials, like differences in burials. Russians get buried the other way around, as in their head is facing their tomb instead of...
feet is under the tombstone.
Yeah, so they're kind of flipped, and then others face Mecca, and sometimes they're in a praying position. I know Jewish culture, it's very simple. Everything's the same. You have a very simple headstone. You're buried, I think, naked or maybe in just like underwear, but very simple. And then in a pine, very basic coffin, and everyone's the same in a very, the most like basic, simple, organic way. And then Hindi culture, the family dresses the body, and there's like, I've seen ash on their forehead and things like that.
So spoiler alert, like you've now got yourself into some form of internship or whatnot.
Yeah, sort of work experience. It's sort of a casual on-call job.
So how did that happen? Because I remember a few months ago telling you, like, just door knock, like call around and...
Yeah, it actually happened. I don't know if I've told you this,
no.
But so you sort of told me that, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to wait until the right time. And then I was working at my cafe job, which I also work at, and this guy who's a bit nuts, he's told me he has bipolar. He has definitely gone on and off his meds. At one point, he was stalking my shifts and things like that, but then we became friends. But so he's a character. There's a few. I like knowing characters. I always try and strike up a conversation with someone I deem as a character. Also because they're great writing material. Yeah. I love a good character.
Get them on the pod, yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, he's very, very loud in the cafe because he's always off his meds and he's preaching. He has this one friend who he preaches to in the cafe. It's really funny. But so he one day talked to me and he was like, some planet is in retrograde, it's going to retrograde.
Mercury and Gatorade.
And basically, and he was like, if there's any opportunity that you've been sort of pushing off, anything that you've really wanted to do that you haven't done yet, now is the time to do it. If you do it now, it will work out for you. If you don't do it now, it won't work out for you ever. So you need to do it now and it'll work out for you. And my first thing that came to mind was the funeral home things.
Wow.
And I was like, that's something I wanted to do and I've been putting off for a long time because I just haven't really got my foot in the door yet. But he said this, and the next day I was like, I'm going to adjust my resumes to be funeral homey, and I don't know what that is. Just like, I want to work in the death industry. Crosses everywhere. No, and then I started I tried to do the door knocking thing. It didn't really work out. I tried to go, there's a funeral home nearby, And I went, it said on Google Maps that it's literally a minute walk away. So I went there, and then no, I could not find the building at all. And I was asking people around, do you know where this funeral home is? And I was trying to do all these things. I had my little resumes, and then I called them and I was like, hi, I'm at your office, I think. I can't find it, but are you in? I'd love to drop off my resume. And they're like, oh no, this is like a conferencing room. It's a meeting room that we meet at scheduled times with families. So there were a few of those where they didn't really work out because I couldn't do that. So then I ended up just calling places. And after about 3 calls, one of the guys was like, I know someone who is really passionate about education in the industry. I'll give you his number and you can call him about this. And then I called him, and then he asked for like an interview meeting sort of thing. And that's
nice.
now
Okay.
I'm working.
Just for anyone who, because I back it and I take full credit for having told you to go to that road. But like, can you break down, even though it's nothing to do with the death industry, that little process of CV adjustment, but more importantly, like kind of putting yourself out there and stuff? Because that skill is so lost, it seems, nowadays. And everyone's just like, if it's not on Seek, it doesn't exist. And
yeah.
it's similar to dating. Like, no one's asking people out there like on dating apps, but that has all the competition and it's shit house. Like,
I would just say, like, the main issue
what
with
do you
it
do
is,
when you rang up? Like,
so when I rang up, I would be like, hi, I'm calling because I want to get trained, I want a job, but sort of work experience. I'm not a high school student, because a lot of the time I realise that they think I'm a high school student when I ask for work experience, because they have a work experience time. So I was like, not a high school student, but I'm looking for work experience in the field. Any sort of way I can even shadow someone, and then...
And are you framing it? Because that seems to me like, I want this. Are you framing it at all to be like, I can be of service in some way, or not?
Well,
really?
not really, because I don't think I really can be of service. Literally, it's kind of just asking people for a favour, which I think is what it is. If someone's taking the time to train you and give you work experience, it's them doing you a favour.
So it's charity and you're not trying to hide from that fact.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of putting it in a way, which I didn't talk about pay or money, but I'm wording it in like a work experience way, as if I'm not looking for necessarily a salary. Like, it's not saying, volunteer work, but it's also not putting it out as I want a job. So I think that helps people as well, to be like, okay, if she's not really looking for money out of this, she's looking for work experience. But also, I think the hardest part is a lot of the people that you'll call in any job, the receptionist is like a 20-year-old girl or something, and they're talking on the phone so judgmentally, like, okay, we don't really get this often. Yeah, I can see what I can do for you. Can I like write down your number? It's very much like that. That's on the other side.
To the bin.
Yeah, it's like that in any job. I think you would get, if you're calling a reception or something like that, you would get a lot of that sort of thing, which is a bit disheartening. But I think if you just sound friendly and cheerful, and when you don't sound self-conscious, people don't judge you as much with anything. If you're not self-conscious about, even if you fake it till you make it, but if you're not sounding or looking or acting self-conscious, people just roll with that energy.
One hack I found for myself with that situation, because the job I currently got was that absolutely feels like I'm hacking life by going straight through volunteering stuff. That requires you not needing money and blah, blah. But if you know even just a name, if you can name drop the person that you actually want to get to, and ChatGPT is very good at scouring websites. That's what I've been doing.
That's really smart.
To like figure out who the HR or who the hiring manager might be. So even if you have the receptionist in person, door knocking, or on the phone, you'd be like, hey, can I speak to James or Kylie or whoever it is? Yeah. I've been told their name. I've been told to get in touch with Kylie about potential for shadowing and stuff. And then the 20-year-old who's like, oh, yes, I can handle this directly there. Like,
that's smart. I never thought of that. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as scary if you're not going to see these people unless you like actually get a job there, and then it's successful, so who cares?
Sure. Okay, so you got into this place and they said what? Yeah, come in.
Well, they said come in for an interview sort of meeting, not like a formal interview, but just to chat. And they said they're not really looking to hire, but they're interested in educating people, because it's the more I've been working in this sort of industry, the more people have said it's really difficult to get your foot in the door, just because it sort of has to be almost like an inherited job, or
I think
someone.
There's more demand for it than ever though, because there's so many old people dying.
That's true, but it's apparently quite competitive. But the people who are saying it's competitive are saying that young people who think they want to work in the industry, who are kind of maybe emo or whatever, they want to work in the industry, and then they actually see a dead body and they don't want to work in the industry.
They want to be able to say they work in the industry.
Yeah, I think so. So there are a lot of people who are saying that happens, that people want a job, either aren't very good at their job because they might be very socially awkward or whatever. There's a lot of things that if you...
I feel like it's the same as I'm currently experiencing with paramedic stuff. Like, there's so much talk about, oh my God, there's no jobs. And then whenever I talk to people who are actually doing it, they're like, there are unlimited jobs, but the kind of person who's saying there are no jobs at first year uni or hasn't even started uni is probably socially not fully developed. And
social skills are so important in any job, honestly.
Especially those kind of jobs that not everyone, not to say the people who can do it are any better, but not everyone can be a mortician or not everyone can be a paramedic. So there's a certain allure to that and a certain vibe of I am a mortician, therefore more people than can actually do it are probably attracted to it. I
also think that people who are attracted to this job, which is also why I was attracted to this job, is because you kind of go in thinking you don't have to talk to as many people, which is true. So that's why you might attract a lot of socially awkward people, because I've done hospitality for so long that I want a job where I don't have to, I just want to listen to music. And like, I'm honestly jealous of like when I see cleaners and things like that and they just work with their headphones in and just are chilling, sweeping floors. I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. So I wanted a solitary job, but because I'm working for a smaller family run business, it's every person does everything. So you can have, they're really good with, say, boundaries. Like, some people don't want to do any work with people under the age of 18. They don't want to do any children. Then there's other people who don't want to touch bodies. Then there's other people who don't want to do public speaking.
Within the funeral home.
Yeah, so there's people that have their things, but everyone is trained to do everything, and everyone should be able to do everything if need be, apart from maybe the boundaries with children.
Then you need the interpersonal communication skills. So it's almost like, often in such an industry, the case is the kind of person who's attracted to that role is mutually exclusive from the kind of person who would succeed in that role.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, like the celebrant at a funeral who is public speaking a lot of the time and talking to family members, etc., they might be
completely opposite to
the person who wants to work with the
bodies.
Yeah. So I think it's nice to have someone that can do both. I think I'm more interested in the body side than the funeral and families.
But you're very good front facing as well.
Yeah, I think I could do it, and definitely if I could do a funeral. The reason I think I want to be doing more of the body element is not as much because I don't want to be public speaking. I don't really mind. A job is a job. And honestly, the public speaking, like, everyone's grieving. They don't actually care about what you say that much. But I wrote it down a note. I prefer working with bodies because I don't want to be desensitized to the emotions of death, which is the funerals and the grieving and the family side. I don't want to be desensitized to that. I don't mind being desensitized to an actual physical body, but being desensitized to the emotions of death is something I don't really want to happen.
Right, so you want to kind of safeguard your sensitivity to...
Yeah, I want to go to a funeral and be able to cry and be able to see it as a very emotional event, because it is. I don't want to go to so many funerals that it becomes the regular Monday, and I've seen so many funerals that I just don't care about it anymore.
It's harder to emotionally invest.
Yeah, because even the first funeral I went to, I thought I would cry and I didn't, and I was like, God, this would be so easy to just be so desensitized to.
Is that a bad thing though? Because I don't think desensitization I don't know if that's a word.
But I expected myself to cry, and I didn't. And I was like, I don't know, I was a bit shocked by that. I was like, why did I not
But
care as
even
much?
if you're looking at bodies and figuring that becomes your normal mundane, there's going to be certain objectivity surrounding your perception of death. Therefore, there's no, especially for someone you don't know, there's no sense of loss. Like,
Yes, but also like you know, you hear the speeches and like it definitely made me emotional, but I could tell in myself that if I went to funerals or ran funerals all the time, I just wouldn't get as emotional around death, which can be a good, like I'm already probably less, oh, I don't know. I really hate, for me, death is definitely, I care more about the people who are living and grieving. So if someone close to me is grieving, I'm emotional because of seeing them so upset as well.
Okay, I'm keen to explore your thoughts on mortality and the rest of it, but talk me through that first day, because I distinctly remember you talking about it, and it was wild.
So first day, what did I do?
So you line up this interview and you do the interview, or is this first day the interview?
No, I do an interview and then they say, are you free to come on
Okay, cool.
Thursday or whatever? And I was so excited. I was like, yes. Because actually, this sounds kind of egotistical, but, and like, touch wood, there's no wood. But I've never done an interview where I haven't got the job. And I'm like, so I was so happy. I was like, another one, got the job, sort of. I mean, I wasn't necessarily hired, but they were like, come in. And I was so excited. So then they did some basic training, like how to lift the
Manual handling and whatnot.
whatever. Like there's a lot of lifting and transport and that type of thing. And then they were like, okay, we're going to now teach you how to wrap the body in cloth and all that. And it was really funny because they know, they've obviously done a lot of first days for people. Like the people who've been here for like 15, 20 years minimum, honestly. And so they kind of know how to spook. Like I told them, throw me in the deep end because I want to know, I don't want to waste your time. I want to know in the first half an hour if I can do this type of thing.
Is that how they usually run it? Or?
No, they said they really liked my attitude. They said they liked that I just wanted to get experience before I got a job. They said that that's not usually that common, that people want to maybe shadow or get experience before they actually apply to know if they want to do it, and then for someone to say, and throw me in the deep end so I actually know. A lot of people want everything sugar-coated just because of how society does that,
But
especially with death.
If you do that way, your way, then they can trust your yes.
Yeah. And so they really liked that attitude and they said that a few times. And then they sort of, like, without saying it was an intentional thing, but for example, I could see all the bodies wrapped in cloth and all that, but then they just like really quickly did showed me the face of the dead person just to kind of test my reaction. And I was just like trying to be very nonchalant.
What was it like?
It was fine, but also I like registered it as funny of them to be kind of trying to pull these little tricks to almost scare me in a way.
Were they, because at uni we've been having cadavers and pretty wild because they're all flayed and like cut up and like there's not a whole body just intact. It's like, this is half a face. This is an arm without skin on it anymore.
Yeah.
But the nature of donating to science like that is they have to be dead of natural causes. So these are really old people.
Yeah.
Right? But in the in the funeral home, I imagine the majority is probably old, but they're not
There's
all
actually
old.
quite a few like middle-aged people, quite a few 50, 60-year-olds. Honestly,
I feel like that'd be slightly harder than, because if you see some like what looks like 80 plus, like okay, fair enough. You looked dead when you were when you were alive, but
like the old people, I don't know, they like the really old people. There was this man who was so old and he just looked like almost a cartoon old person. I don't know, like he was just like what you would imagine as, I don't know, it was just weird in my brain. He was the only like really old person, like probably over 100.
But the rest were like kind of, oh, that could be mum, like.
Yeah, there was.
Was that more difficult?
I wouldn't say so, honestly. I think if I saw someone maybe my age, which I haven't, that would be weird, possibly, just because I'd be like,
Yeah,
damn,
seeing
that
like
could be me. Like
seeing an
tomorrow.
11-year-old or something.
11-year-old, yeah, that would be hard. But again, I haven't done any children work, but with children, I don't know how I would feel about it. At the moment, I'm still just like, this person died, the family needs someone to deal with it. That's my job, and I don't think it would be, obviously a child dying is devastating, but I don't think I would not be able to do it because of emotions.
Your utility first.
Yeah, whereas if I saw someone my age for some reason, it would be like a weird, I don't know, it would be not like emotional, but it'd be more odd.
Hits that survival.
It would be like they
instinct
could have
more.
been my friend. Like they grow up in Melbourne. They probably have a mutual friend of mine. They probably went to like some school that I know of. It would be more like they could be in my year level, like very relatable almost.
To be morbid as well, I don't know if this is insensitive or not, to be honest, but I imagine young people, certainly like 25 below, majority of them who end up they're dead is either like traumatic incident, like so the body's probably not intact in some way, or like a long illness, you know. I'm thinking cancer.
Yeah.
You see a little,
or honestly a brain aneurysm that can happen.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I mean. So like, imagine the majority are probably like, you can see how they died. Like they might be born from
That's
cancer,
true.
or they might be missing an arm from a car crash. But if it's something like a brain aneurysm or an overdose or something that like, oh, this is far more accessible to me. Like,
Yeah, it's something that it would usually be, other than illness, something that's quite maybe either accidental or self-inflicted, but it would be, you should also probably put like a trigger warning on this episode for like, if people don't like talking about death, but as in...
I feel like it will be the main title, like death industry.
Yeah. But yeah, what else have I got?
So keep on running through this first day, because I'm fascinated how like an intern like.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah. So we did like the basic.
So you
things.
saw the face, like okay.
Saw the face. Some old lady. She looked very sweet actually. Just like a sweet old lady, like pink cardigan. You could tell she makes a
so
good
they're
tea.
in clothes, okay, yeah.
Well, like sometimes, like when you work on them, they're naked, but it just depends on honestly when they've come in and if someone's had time to dress them.
Random question, but do they like undress them, as in take their thing off, or because in medical they usually cut off their clothes? Are they cutting off or like taking them off?
I think they would probably take them off because I think you return them back to the family. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, especially because it might be like sentimental, like they died in this outfit. So I think I'm actually not sure about that, because I haven't actually like undressed someone. I've worked with like the naked body, but I haven't actually done the undressing myself. But yeah, I would assume they would like take it off unless it was really difficult. But
so you're in like some funeral home freezer room or something, looking at dead bodies, wrapping them.
Yeah, they have like they have their office where I did like the interview, and then they have a separate location which is the morgue, and there's still like an office, and they also have the coffin display room and all that. So families still go there, but it's more like warehousey. So you go in and then there's like office with desks and things in a separate room. Behind that there's a room with the coffin display, and then you have all the cars. It's like an indoor car park with all the hearses, and then you have these sort of like metal barriers sort of thing, like, but only maybe 2-3 meters high. Sorry, that's a wind. 2-3 meters high, so it's not like to the roof of the warehouse, but then there's just sort of an open door, and then you have, I don't know, like the trolleys and tables. And
do you have like cool room and crematorium? Like is there a massive oven somewhere?
No. So they go to like external.
Yeah, how does the actual what's the supply chain of
it's
death?
It's like Sunbury, is it?
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, sure.
Is where the crematorium is, or like...
So this is one crematorium in the whole city, basically.
Well, not really, but I think there's like there's some main ones.
Imagine seeing
I'm going on a tour actually. They put on the group chat. They were like, "Who wants a tour of the crematorium?" And I was like, "Yes, me."
Because you told me something about like cracking.
Oh yeah.
What's that about?
Watch out. But an hour in, so halfway into a cremation.
The fact that it only takes 2 hours is cooked though, because if I think about leaving a roast chicken in, which is obviously way smaller, for 2 hours in the oven, it's going to be burnt to a crisp, but it's not going to be ashes.
Yeah, well, it gets ground up, so it becomes, so your bones So
what's the I mean, this is
So the
gory, but what's the
process-
process of getting burned?
you go into the oven basically, and then an hour in they
is it like a window you can see, or is it completely blocked off?
Well, I'm going on a tour, so I'll get more. I sort of peeked in and I could just see like the tray that they sort of use to. It's like a metal. What's it called? Like a
whatever
where they can like push the bodies in, and then so I think there is like maybe a little, I don't know. And then they go in and crack the skull with a sort of tool, like not a hammer, but like maybe like a pressure tool.
Open the door because it's going to be so hot. So they must have like a little.
I think it's like a little like suction tool almost,
like putting your gloves in the.
Yeah, I'll get back to you when I have the tour, but it's going to be.
So essentially, the skull's so like dense and whatnot, so they have to like to keep the ashes.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why they do it either. I think it's just so everything is sort of even and broken down enough. Maybe for the machine that grinds it as well. So they need to crack the skull, and then after it's all bones, then it goes into like a bone grinder sort of thing, where then it turns into...
Oh, so it doesn't like...
It's not like ashes, it's actually just like ground up bones, I'm pretty sure.
So it's not like you put a body in, after 2 hours with a smacking the skull in the middle of it, there's just a pile of ashes left. It's kind of just like a charred to a crisp body still.
Yeah, I think so.
And then they process
I'm not like 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure that's how it is. It's actually, I think, bone dust rather than... Which is also because
the flesh is just gone.
Yeah, because it's like chars as well, I think it is sort of like ashy because it's obviously burnt. So I think it's like burnt bone dust. Rather than that's how I'm sort of I think it is.
Yeah.
It's like blackened,
I wonder if
charry,
they
like
clean
ashy
that
bones.
out fully, or like they kind of can't really. So you have
I think you
get your grandma's ashes, and it's kind of like 10% of them might be the guy before.
Yeah, not 10%, but I think 1% or less than 1% is a mix of everyone else, mainly from the grinder as well, because they just like dust it. And then the only way they really can clean it is like just dusting, I think. So then you get like a tiny percentage
people
of other people.
They're going to like be inhaling.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah, probably. Maybe you probably wear a mask or something, but yeah.
That's good to brush your teeth with charcoal.
Oh my god. Crazy.
God. Okay.
But
right. So you're smashing skulls, and then was that your first day? Like.
Oh, I went, my first day, that was the first stop. We went to the crematorium, had a little look at the cemetery there. My like manager and girl who was driving me around, we both were talking about why we love cemeteries and why they're interesting and cool to look around. We both find them peaceful and just, mindful and peaceful. And then... we went back to the mortuary where she was like, okay, we're doing a dressing. No, not a dressing because it was a Hindi person. So we're doing a cleaning of the body. So first we did the rigor mortis little, like, you're a paramedic, don't you know?
Oh, when it goes stiff.
Like stiff, the joints. So we need to like row the legs out and stuff like that.
So it doesn't get stiff.
Yeah, so like it, like... because the joints can be stiff.
So you're just doing that kind of like the exercise.
Yeah. So I'm just grabbing her feet and like, but you also sort of like, it sounds insensitive maybe but to make it easier for you talk, like everyone in the industry I think does this, you talk to the bodies. And
lift higher with your left leg.
Well, yes, but also not in like a joking way, but in a like, say you're grabbing their leg, you're like, oh, I'm just going to grab your leg, sweetie, almost as if you're a nurse. Like you sort of... And it's not like you're not knowing they're dead. You know they're dead, but it's almost just so you in your head...
Keep them human.
Yeah, keep them human, because otherwise you're like scrubbing their legs. And if you say like... If you accidentally like say drop their arm and it like bangs or something, you're like, oh, sorry about that, sweetie.
Yeah.
You sort of like...
Patient-centered care.
Yeah, you take care of them in a way, so then you like might brush their hair and be like, oh, it's nice. Like you got like nice hair. Like, I don't know. Everyone sort of just... I think would talk to them a little bit, obviously in a different way, but even like everyone I've talked to does a little bit of that.
That's the
talking.
ultimate prank for someone to like get an intercom or something and
Oh my God,
be there,
imagine.
and then you drop their head or something and it cracks. And you're like, oh, sorry about that. I'm like, don't worry.
No, one thing I will say though is no one can get used to a dead body's head dropping, because it happens a lot because they're on these headrests, and a lot of the time if you're moving them and cleaning them you don't realize, but their head just like slips off and there's no muscles to naturally contract, so it's the loudest, oh my God, it's like the worst sound. It's just like a hollow bang, and it's honestly like your heart drops every time. I don't know what it is about it, but it's because it's such a thud and it's so, you know, it's the head and it's so lifeless. It like everyone flinches a little
Even
bit.
the people who've
Everyone's
been in there for 20 years.
Yeah, everyone's soul like dies a little bit inside. It's just like a.
How often would that?
It's
like,
so
if you're
eerie.
a pro, decades in the game, and you're doing that, you'd probably hear that once a day.
Oh, you hear it a lot, but like I try and now.
So you ask them, and they're still not used to it.
Oh yeah, like.
Really? So it's such an integral.
It's like a really human reaction to be really.
Wow, like empathetic
to the head dropping. It's something about the head thud that's, maybe people who have been in the industry don't mind it, but there were a few people who definitely were like that every time. It never gets better. So the head dropping, but I don't know, it was fine. It also, like, for me, some reason I like forgot that they'd be naked on my first day. I was sort of more shocked that the fact that it was just like some naked stranger in front of me. Not that I care that much about nudity. I think nudity should be a lot more just accepted and whatever. But it was more that society, like, you never really just see some random lady fully naked and you have to like touch them and clean them and all that. So it was also, I was uncomfortable in a way because they were dead and it was my first like dead person I was like fully touching, but also the fact that they were stark naked. And
again, this is, I don't know where the lines of insensitivity and stuff, so I'm just going to say everything. I think, are you cleaning everything?
No, like okay. Not like unnecessary parts, because obviously they're going to be clothes. So you take off, so like a lot of people come from hospital, right? So my first body was like a middle-aged woman and she'd come from hospital, so they still have tape and a lot of like medical wires
stuff and
yeah, they still have a lot of things attached to their body and everywhere, and needles you kind of pull out and things like that. So you just take everything off, and then because of all the tape, masking tape and stuff from taping it onto their body, you have to scrub that like residue off. So you sort of do that, and then you use floor cleaner to clean their body because it's like very hygienic, and then you spray in their mouths and everything with like disinfectant, because some cultures kiss dead bodies. So you need to like spray all in their mouth, and then
that's like bacteria body.
Oh, it's just like you don't know what they died from either. Like a lot of the time they don't tell you what they died from. So if it's something that's contagious,
is that ever dodgy? Is that like it's irresponsible to not tell these morticians? Are you fully PPE'd up? Like
no, I was wearing gloves, but I was just in my regular outfit. So the only thing I had, because I wasn't getting.
This is like the plague. Like that was a classic back in the day.
Yeah, well, like I need to get a tuberculosis shot, which, Mum, I know you're on my back about that, but because tuberculosis, it doesn't go away from the body immediately. It takes a while and it's contagious. So if they happen to die from that, then we could contract it. So I do need to get that, but I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Like, you're not really going into too much detail. You use tweezers and things, like say we stuffed with cotton balls the mouth and sinuses. So the sinuses was actually probably the worst part for me. Like we sewed a mouth and did everything.
Wait, what do you mean sewing a mouth?
You get the curved needle and go through here, and like because it's curved you go under the jaw. So
how big's the needle?
Like not that like it's just like a like a curved needle, but imagine poking it in there and going under the jaw.
And it comes out into the mouth?
And then it goes out, it comes out here.
Like in the lip?
Like, or like in the
back of the bottom lip?
Yeah, and then you go up through the top lip.
So the back of the top lip. So
you go like here, and then you go into the, once you're in the top lip, so like you're in here on the inside.
Between the teeth and the top lip.
Then you go in through the nose, through the lip, you go like in through the septum, and then you go
With
down.
string, like this is
Yeah. And you go back down.
back the way you came.
And then when you get to under here, you then have to...
Like cinch it tight.
You like cinch it so the mouth closes, and then you have to like shimmy the string. So you grab two ends and you shimmy the string so it goes from here to here internally, like so it's going to the front of their chin or jaw so that it doesn't dimple, because otherwise the weight of the string will cause like a dimple under their chin. So you want to have it looking like they don't have any string.
So
there's other methods to do
keep their
it.
Mouth closed.
Yeah, because otherwise, because you have no muscles working or on, so your mouth will just hang open.
Yeah.
There's also eye caps, because eyelids just
Are you sewing their eyes?
No, you just put like an eye cap.
What's that?
There's different ones.
Is it see-through, like, or is it supposed to be seen?
No, their eyes are supposed to be like closed, so it's under the eyelid.
So you like glue onto the...
No, it's like usually like tiny little, like almost like Velcro, like tiny little like...
What the fuck?
Like it's like textured so that it stays...
Oh my God.
Under their eye.
So you're between their eye and their eyelid?
Yeah.
On both
like
sides?
You would just like fold their eyelid over.
That's...
Not with everyone, like some people's eyes just stay closed, but other people...
never keep them open.
No. No, have you ever seen a peaceful dead body with the eyes?
I was opening the eyes in the cadavers.
Oh, of course you were.
Yeah.
But
I think they had glass eyes though.
And I reckon actually the worst part for me was stuffing the sinuses, because...
How do you get up there?
So you get tweezers and you get a cotton ball and you go in the nose, but then the sinuses are like down instead of being up.
Like they're out to the side.
Yeah, so I thought I thought I would just go all the way up the nose like that. Right. But no, they were like, imagine you're lying down, right? So I'm like...
Yeah, because the sinus goes down back into the throat.
Yeah. So imagine like I'm on the table lying down.
Okay.
You get the tweezer up and then you have to bend the tweezer in their nose. So the tweezer is going like that. Yeah. And like moving their nostril up, and then you have to like shove it into their head.
Yeah. Did they teach you, because in what we do, there's a thing called, what is it? Nasal pharyngeal airway. So basically, if people have like blocked stuff, you want to make sure they can breathe. And if the one in the mouth doesn't work to bypass their tongue, you put one in the nose. And the way we have to do is like a pig. Like,
yeah, that's kind of how I have to do the tweezer.
Basically, after that, it just goes straight in.
Yeah.
Like, and then these ones are bendy, so they'll naturally go down.
I think that's sort of what I was doing, but it feels weird because I'm like...
It looks like it's going into their head.
Yes, exactly. Like the tweezer is literally like I'm going through their head, which is the weirdest feeling, to be like...
Stuffing
things through someone's head. When you would think that, I don't know, like...
Yeah.
You just don't realize. It's like such a gross. Also, it's like, because it's like the nose and it's got mucus in it, like it's slippery as well. So you're like putting cotton and sliding it down there, and it's just... Anyway, that was probably the worst part for me, honestly. Like, more than sewing the mouth was like, if you don't like needles, gross. Okay. But also it was the...
Is any part of you, like, I don't want a needle in my mouth right now?
Yeah, like a little bit. I don't know. I don't really know how I want to, like this.
But when you're doing it, when you're putting a needle in someone's mouth, are you also thinking,
Not really, actually. But what I'm thinking, especially the first one, is I was like, because it's hard for your brain to recognize that someone is dead, not sleeping. The only way that your brain really recognizes it is because you don't feel the breathing. So I kind of like I didn't do this because it was my first day and I didn't want the manager to think I was being weird. But I think in the future, if I was doing it, I'd honestly like put one hand on their chest, so that maybe my brain has more like they're actually dead. Because I think the worst part is like you kind of expect them to be asleep and just wake up, because if you're seeing someone lying down, your brain
go up to them and stick a needle up their mouth.
Yeah, you stick a needle in their mouth. You're kind of just like, from all your life experience, thinking that they're asleep in your brain, even though you logically know they're dead. And I had to keep telling myself, and the girl working was like, don't worry, everyone's like this. Don't worry, they are dead. They can't feel it, they're dead. But you're thinking that they're going to feel it and be in pain from it because you're sticking a needle in someone.
So when you earlier spoke about not wanting to desensitize yourself to the emotional investment in a funeral service, surely then, like, the people who are in this industry maybe got into it because they already have this to a certain extent, but to some degree train themselves to be way less sensitive to, like, causing kind of harm or discomfort to human bodies.
I mean, maybe, but
And if
also...
it's so hard to distinguish dead or alive already, like, you'll probably find it easier to go to Ryan while he's sleeping if you had to, for whatever reason, put it in it, like, than you did otherwise.
Yeah, maybe. Like, as in, maybe if I had, like, I always got scared if someone had an allergic reaction and I had to stab them with an EpiPen. I was always like, God, would I be able to do that? And now I'm like, maybe I could do that. But I think everyone in the industry is so nice and so nice. It makes me really happy that I feel like this is an industry, for the most part, of people I've met who is so, like, lovely, and maybe that's why there seems to be some correlation between really sweet people and working in this industry, especially, like, yeah, just everyone I've met seems to be super sweet. So I think...
do people have to go to uni for it?
No, not really. I mean, if you want to do
internal training,
embalming, there's a course for that. There's different courses that you can do, but in some countries, yes, like in America, you do courses, but here it's more on-site training. You sort of just do it as you go.
I mean, not that you've got a job, but do you know anything about pay? Like, is it...
It's not that well
normal?
paid, because also, if you sort of logically think of it, everyone wants people's funerals to be as cheap as possible. No one's trying to, you know...
be exuberant, and there's not very much room for salesmen in the...
Yeah, like, no one's trying to make funerals more expensive than they already are. So if you were... And that's how you're getting your money, is through families paying for funerals and paying for your services. So I think the people who work in this industry do it more for, like, the fulfillment, because it is really fulfilling. And you do... I feel like, even though I've only been a very short time, like, I haven't done that much work, but I already feel almost like this, it feels like a very old profession, which it is. Like, obviously it's probably one of the first professions, but it feels like very connected with history in a way, in terms of it's like medieval practice almost, like in a modern way, but then also it's like the only job where you're delivering people to the afterlife. You're literally going from life, and you feel like a bit of a, like, not in an ego way, but like a bit of like an angelic, like, I am doing like the work of like a heavenly divine work, almost like I'm sending people off, which is really nice. And I don't think you could get anywhere else to feel like you're almost like doing like
angel is from the Greek angelo, which is messenger.
Really, yeah. It's like you're doing like a divine work that you're almost sent for. And a lot of people actually on Reddit, I was on this thing, a lot of people, which I kind of resonate with, say that people who work in this industry have a calling for it, like a divine calling almost, that you are meant to do this job. There's some jobs that I think people are meant to do, and it kind of feels like that for me. And I'm still not sure if I want to do this as a career or long term or whatnot, but I do think there's a certain element that some people are meant to do certain things. And I feel like that, and it feels nice. And I'm not conformed to a practiced religion necessarily. So it's not like God has sent me to do this, but it's like more of like a universe, like the spiritual. This is a nice job that actually feels like a job. Like, it's something that people would have had to do as a job for so long in history, that it's like one of like the basic,
you can see your
jobs, if that makes sense.
The utility
like,
of,
it's not like being like a Wall Street person who the job has come from society making it a job. It's like, no, this is like
this has always been useful.
A job. Yeah, it's like always useful. It's like a foundation job, like a primary job.
First principles.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you mentioned like a bit of, spiritual, God-y, afterlife stuff. So what are your thoughts already, but then like maybe influenced by the exposure to the death industry on mortality itself?
Well, I think that working with the bodies, you can feel that their soul is not there and that their soul is with the families or wherever the soul wants to be, but you can tell that the body is just a vessel, which is really nice for things like vanity and gratefulness. But also like your body, like, I don't know, it's nice to be grateful that all your cells are working for you and your blood is pumping, and having that gratefulness, and also stripping the vanity off. You know, like the soul is just so much more important than the vessel that it comes in, which is really nice, especially growing up in this day and age where there's social media and everyone is getting Botox and no one's aging gracefully, and well, not no one, but you know what I mean. It's very hard to...
Predominant culture is not.
Yeah. It's very hard to strip that sense of vanity and that, you know, it's just a vessel that gets me through every day, which is also like, I don't think I'm immune to that. I like the practice of wearing makeup and self-care, but also that's for like a mental side.
Because there was one question I had, like, you know, we're both young and beautiful and like, you know, in your kind of physical prime period of this life, like, but as we know, but I don't think can ever fully comprehend and really act as if we're true, like that's not going to be the case forever. So
yeah, well, I also like thinking of it as like my prime is almost like this is my healthiest. Like my body is physically healthy as well as an element of prime. And then also I like to think of like my prime years as I don't have as much responsibility. I don't have as much baggage possibly. I've still got so much to learn, which is like I'm almost in my prime of not being stubborn in my views and things like that. Like I think there's so much more wrapped into prime than beauty, and there's like as in, you know, facial and body beauty and whatever, but it's so beautiful to be young and like grateful for your prime in all elements rather than just looks.
And you said like the soul might be with the family or something. Have you, probably not in your own little experience, but have you talked to people that are like, yeah, I'm working on the body, I'm sewing their mouth shut, and I get the sense that the soul's like, you know, floating over with the family who are grieving, but then for like a minute they'll come and visit the body and they'll be like, oh, what is that is that talked about at all?
It's talked about a little bit. I asked a lot of questions on my first day, especially if there's like a lot of driving. I like to ask the people questions, and they were saying that maybe if they're not as close with family or like a bit scattered as a soul, they might feel that energy. But yeah.
And maybe the kind of person who hasn't let themselves age gracefully has been chasing the youthful Botox, whatever, the bodybuilders, like maybe they're more likely to be concerned about what's going on with their body.
I would find it really odd. I haven't done it yet. I'd find it really odd to see. I have nothing against Botox and plastic surgery, by the way, but I would find it really interesting to see someone like that, but also in a state of death which is so peaceful and so natural that it's almost weird to see a body that's been altered or possibly unnatural a little bit in a state that's so natural. I think that's quite like I don't know, like an ironic, I think it would be interesting.
The dichotomy of like, oh, you tried as best as you could with the material,
but you can't
human
escape
things,
death.
but you couldn't escape it.
You're still just basically flesh and bones. No matter what you did to alter that, that's what is on the table.
Yeah, and I saw you had a little note there on Achilles theory. What's that?
Oh, this is about, I wrote a note about like what I think of cemeteries, but I like the idea with...
Because we were going to do this in a cemetery, but as you might...
Yeah, it's raining and horrible.
It's cold in the
but Achilles has the thing that you die originally as your first death, and then your second death is when no one talks and thinks about you and your memory and legacy.
You know the decision he had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know...
Just to illustrate that, his mum, who's a god, goddess, was like, you can go and fight the war in Troy and you will die, but people will sing your name forever. Or you can not go, you can stay, you'll live happily married with kids and beautiful children and live the good life, but people forget your name.
Yeah. Yes. And I've recently read the Iliad and a few books about the Battle of Troy. Yeah, you knew this.
I don't know, you read the actual Iliad. I thought you read some feminist modern
No, I
twist.
also did. If anyone wants to read Silence of the Girls, such a good book. It's about like Bressius, and I don't know if I'm saying her name right.
Bressius, yeah.
Yeah, and her perspective. I also like Song of Achilles is a classic of...
It's just Achilles and Bressius. I mean, I won't get into it.
Yeah, Patroclus, all of it. It's like, I love all that stuff. And then, so I like the idea in cemeteries of Achilles' second death, because I think as long as people are going and visiting these graves, then they're never... Like, if I'm going and reading, or whoever is reading and thinking about what these people could have been, or even like on my gravestone, I might like, as a few people do, like a few key words about that person. Like it might be that they're, a mother and a sister and it's like that sort of legacy, or whatever they wanted to uphold as their legacy. And if people go to cemeteries and read that and spend time there, then they're never going to have their second death, because everyone's going to be still talking and thinking about them, which I like that idea.
So last night you were saying about like you seem to hold this opinion at the moment, at least, of like the whole burial and death and leaving the gravestone is really for the people that you leave behind. I was saying that, like, yes, maybe in our culture it's almost completely for them, but it hasn't always been the case with things like Afterlife. And I mean, all sorts of cultures have like, no, you literally need your body, even Christian culture, you need your body in the next life. And my mind, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is a coherent thought, but like goes to the idea of unmarked soldier graves, or like Aboriginal mass graves that are completely unmarked, and like there's this real sense of injustice around that. But if you take a purely objective, kind of rationalistic view, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. So where do you kind of sit with that?
I personally, I don't think, in my view, like this is completely personal, I don't think any spiritual afterlife, it doesn't determine anything, whether you're maybe like whole, or if you're burnt or like cremated, or if you're buried, or if you have a tombstone, or whatever the case is, if you die unmarked on a grave or whatever. I don't think that in a spiritual life it deems anything. So because I get that feeling that I think that like your soul is going to be in the afterlife, and I don't really see the afterlife as you take your physical body with you, because I also just find that difficult to imagine, especially if people have died from like a traumatic cause and they're just walking around with like a traumatized body.
My very, very superficial, not deep understanding of like ancient Greek stuff is kind of like that. Like, in Hades, in the underworld, like,
everyone walking
around with like a floppy arm because they got cut off in the wall.
Because I don't believe necessarily in like heaven and hell and like underworld. I just sort of believe in like a soul that then moves into different lives to learn different lessons primarily.
So like the soul is like this, like the 22 grams or whatever that leaves your body, and then it inhabits, reincarnates, or it just kind of floats as a cloud somewhere?
No, I think it reincarnates in different lives, in different settings and whatever, and it's primarily to have new experiences and lessons for that soul. So still
I think my favourite one is still the idea of that there's just a big ocean, like the metaphor, the images, and hopefully the translation kind of makes sense, but like there's just an ocean, and when you are alive you have the vessel, call it a bucket, your body, corporal vessel is like a bucket. God comes along and takes a bucket of seawater, plops it on the beach with the 8 billion other ones or something. So everyone's made of the same stuff, the stardust, right? But obviously in each different individual bucket there's going to be a unique mix of salt and water and little microplanktons and all sorts of different stuff. but then at the end they just toss the bucket back into the ocean, and that ocean is just the oneness, the universe, the feeling of God, and
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, that's been corroborated by my own personal experiences.
Yeah, I like that. I sort of have like this thought that, say, when you're born, you have things like nature versus nurture. Like you learn things and through experiences and where you're born and contextually.
What beach you get placed on.
Yeah, then you develop, a personality from that. But then I think everyone is born with their soul personality. Like the soul that has gone through many lives has always been, even though it's learnt new lessons. So I think that's why some people are like old souls or wiser souls and whatever, because they might have either had more lives or had more deep experiences and lessons in those lives, that then it imprints on that baby to then take that with them in a way, but then they have their personality also adapted with the nurture side.
Is part of you, I'm sure it's kind of embarrassing to reveal, but so feel free to not, but do you judge, not necessarily negatively or positively, but do you judge people's bodies as reflections and projections in any way of souls and of lives lived?
Not really, because I think that,
the Greeks, for example, worshipped beauty in and of itself as a virtue.
Yeah.
As like you're kind of touched by divinity in some way.
Yeah, like Aphrodite or something.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that your soul needs to go into different bodies and different experiences to learn that lesson. So, for example, if you were then in a disabled body, which isn't less beautiful, but say you're in a disabled body for that life, I think it's because your soul needs to experience what it's like to live in that. And I don't think it's necessarily because you've done something
it's
bad.
It's very like Hindu caste of like the untouchables. And
yeah, but I don't think it's like a karma thing as if you've done something bad necessarily. I just think that it's like you have all these different experiences just to have different experiences, and just so that your soul then learns what it's like to face that, like maybe injustice of this, or being born in whatever country or city or family or environment, however unfortunate or lucky it may be, is for a new experience, that a lesson that your soul might not have learnt or might not have learnt enough from. It might not have taken every lesson, might need to have like a revamp. There was this podcast I was listening to where this very spiritual guy was saying also, there's this, a lot of people think that the souls must be getting less and less strong because there's more people being born and therefore souls need to be almost shared. But I don't think that's true, because this person was saying that you could have a life where you're like literally stardust and like or a planet or a star in one life, or you could be a rock, your soul could be anything. Yeah, you could be anything, and then you could, so I think that, not saying
it's just
that
like humans on Earth. Right?
Yeah, not saying that everything has a soul, like every rock is a soul. But, for example, I've been told that this is my first time on Earth. So, like, my soul has been around for a lot of years, but it's been different planets. It might have been like an atom. It might have been something like that. But then this is my first time on
Whoever
actual
or
Earth.
whatever told you that, where that information came from, did they reveal what they were seeing about you that caused them to come to that conclusion?
No. But also I very much trust this person because of, I haven't really trusted many like psychics or anything, but this person has known things that are crazy, and even things like about our grandma who passed away, who like just so accurate to her personality, even though I didn't explain anything about her, but just I literally said her name and she said like the most accurate detail about her.
Now, last episode, as I was listening to that in my research for this one, and you were saying, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but you were saying like people's connection to their identity, and that obviously displays itself in pursuits for success and all sorts of other stuff, maybe the Botoxy stuff. It causes like a fear of death. The soul, you were saying like souls are almost tied, souls that are tied too closely to this material reality. It's not necessarily a good thing. It causes fear of death. And the quote was, I think you were saying you would like to see people like less cemented on this earth, but more conceptualize themselves as a soul floating that's just experiencing this earth and then going to do something else.
Yeah, like even, I'm not going to like, I was having a conversation with someone the other day who was saying like, oh, it's so unfortunate that when my soul does move on, I won't remember this life that I've had. And I was like, well, it would ruin your next life if you did. If you remembered your previous life, then you would go and try and find your best friend, you'd try and find your kids, you would say your soul then became like, I don't know, someone who's living in Vietnam in a small village, and then you remember your past life, then why wouldn't you come back to Melbourne and try and catch up with what your kids are doing and whatnot? Like, you need to have less of a connection with each life, I think. But yeah, less of a connection with like each, maybe like your present life. Like, obviously,
that's what drives people to do certain things or go to certain places. Like, I don't feel connected to Melbourne.
Yeah, maybe like
For
maybe
instance,
your
like,
past life, like you have little like imprints from it that you might, you know, have been connected with other places more so. But I also think, like, obviously in saying that, you should have deep connections with the people, but mainly because they're other souls, not because they are the people. Like, say for example, you have deep connections with your children. I think it's an important lesson and very good for, and like healthy for your soul to have that connection with other souls and be tied to other souls, and you could connect with them in future lives and you can have a soul family and all those sorts of things. But I think to be like rooted in, this is my life in Melbourne, this is my school, this is where I grew up, etc., etc., and to be really stubborn in that almost, and then scared to die because of the life that you have set up, I think that that is what people then have a fear of death. Because if you were less connected with the life you've set up and more connected with just like your connections and meeting, then you don't mind as much if then your next life you're in a village in Vietnam.
I think you were saying that. I think you were saying like people get too tied up in their career, their success, their friends here and their social status and stuff, that they don't realize they are just, in your perception, like a soul floating through reality.
Yeah, and you're going to...
You're going to have this again and again,
you're
and
gonna,
like just chill out.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't be too connected with like, oh my God, like I need to...
Yeah, not to be too... Also, I think that a lot of the time, like sort of in a manifestation way, the more you surrender and trust the universe in directing where you're going to go, not in like a be lazy and do nothing, but even when this guy with the funeral home thing, when he just said like, you should take this action now, that could have been the universe sort of sending him to be like, you should do this now and it's going to work out for you and you're going to like this experience. And there's certain, I think, like in my idea, you have choices, but you have fate, but it kind of works in my head as like, you have a pathway that you're going down, you go down and the universe might throw like a fork in the road. And yes, you're making a choice as to what path you take, but the fork has already been preset. Like those choices and the options have been preset, but where you take it is sort of your choice.
So that's where free will comes into place. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
like
like
you can just do anything and everything, because you have certain conditions and limits and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like, and then
it's like the choose your chapter books.
I think the universe sort of has certain destinies for you and you do have an element of choice.
And it's tell you what, it feels like when I think about that, of like surrendering, having faith, surrendering to like the will of the universe and what it's got in store for me, it takes the pressure off a bit, because it means not that I'm not going to have to put in effort and all this stuff, but as far as I've experienced, the world is so unbelievably complex and grand and great, and all the dark sides of that as well. And what I can do and envisage myself doing, I could not do on my own, not even teamed up with a million other people, because we're constantly like standing on the shoulders of generations before. So it means I get to experience and get to do so much more than I could ever really envisage and dream and even manifest, because it's almost like this divinity is dragging you with it. And as long as you kind of
and also like
that.
Sometimes I find that in my life, if I say, for example, I really want to get into colouring in as a hobby, that's just like a random one. and I set that intention, and then like as soon as I trust in the universe, it's such a bad example, but as soon as I trust that I'm going to do colouring, I sort of set it as like an intention, almost like a manifestation, that's going to be a new hobby, then suddenly like something will pop up, or like someone will gift me something, or it'll just be like, it always happens like little coincidences where that somehow will enter my life, in jobs, in friends, even if I'm like, oh, I literally said at the start of this year, I was like, I really want to have like a girl friendship group. I really want to just trust, and I'm not going to reach out to people. I'm not going to make it happen and force it. I was just like, I really just want a group of girls that are friends, that I'm not a new member to, in terms of like, it feels like I'm just being added, but it just is natural and nice. Literally, now there's like 3. Like the universe just has overcompensated, because now there's like 3 different girl groups that
What's the clarity?
invite
it's the power
me to
of clarity every time.
invite me to things, and I didn't even use any effort to do that.
But the effort isn't, and again, the effort is never, it would seem to me at least, the effort isn't in creating and building and pushing and penetrating. The effort is in clearing the way. And
Yeah, but, like,
getting
I
it
didn't even-
clear in your mind that this is a priority that I want. I want this friendship group of girls. Now, by consequence, you're saying yes to this quite clearly. So you're saying no to, no, I don't need to prioritize this and this and this and this and this. Because before, if you're a bit more scattered, you're like, well, I do want this, but I also want this and I want this and I want this, and you get nothing. But if you're like, okay, not that I need to put energy into it necessarily, but I'm just like saying no to all this. So when the opportunities come, I'm always I know where I'm
when the girls
prioritizing.
are like adding me to a group chat to do something, I'm like, this has worked.
Weird image that may or may not connect, but I thought about, I'd always use this analogy when I was kind of talking about freediving, but surfing, for instance, you can't, and it's funny to see humans try now with those like mechanical foiling boards that have little propellers and stuff, so you can like get this surfing experience with a remote control and like power and energy and like but it's never going to be as good as riding a wave that's different every time, and just the power of nature and stuff, and having to flow and surrender to its thing.
Surfing's a good example.
Yeah, like the power, the enjoyment, the ride, quite literally, comes from surrendering and flowing to nature.
To the nature, yeah.
Whereas we can try to simulate that with those pools that make waves in a big extreme way, or the little motor foiling things. But even with like the limitless potential of, or the very high limits of human potential and mechanisms and stuff, it still can't compete.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, I so see it clearly now that you've said that, as like people like paddling really hard, and the waves aren't even that good, but they're just desperately trying to get this wave, which could be like a career, and it's like not working out for them. They can't even stand up. The waves are just bad. But then another person could not even be trying hard, and all the waves are just, they're barely paddling. They're just setting themselves up for it, which is like, you know, putting yourself in the right position.
Taking some extra time on the beach to look at where they need to go.
Yeah, and then just like completely surrendering to the wave, and then they just get perfect. It's easy, and it's like no effort required. It seems so effortless. And the other person might be so jealous. How do they keep getting all these things? I often even think, when I perceive myself from a external point of view, I'm like, God, I must be so annoying, because sometimes I would just not try as hard as other people, and then I just seem to have a really nice life that I've set up for myself with almost minimal effort.
I feel that. I feel like that as well. I feel
and
like
other people would probably be like, how is she doing all that, when, like, honestly, I'm quite lazy as a person.
It's just I think the power, the truest power that you can have, is the humility to realize I can't do any of this. And this is why I really, again, I'm not religious, but you'll see this in athletes and fighters and stuff all the time, where they're like, it's not me, it's God. It's not me, it's Allah or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously they're doing heaps of training stuff, but yeah, like the humility to realize you can't, as much as you try and hack and physics and stuff, you can't get a good wave. Like, you know, the thing that propels you through life and to what you want is going to be some external divine force, essentially. So your job is to get yourself on the right wave.
Yeah, get yourself on the right wave, and then I think that,
and then surrender to, and figure out how you can actually trust.
And it
that
only
and have faith in
works with trust and surrender, I think, because as soon as you doubt it and then you freak out on the board, then you're gonna like tip over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, the one part of that scares me, and just taking it back to like past life stuff, around the lake in Guatemala, you know, there's so much of that mindset of like, you know, this kind of hippie lost and ancient science. Like, I don't know, you know, there's one kid, for example, who Susie tells me about.
Is it like Mayan stuff or no?
You know, Indigenous culture is always going to be more in touch with it. But this kid's not Mayan. His dad's Guatemalan, but I don't think full Indigenous Guatemalan dude. But this kid is like 3 or something, and he's like waking his mum up at night, like, oh my god, like telling stories about past lives he's had.
Oh, that's
and then,
so
like,
cool when you hear stories of
yeah,
this.
and his like friend in the States, he woke up one day and he was like, oh my god, like little Timmy is little Timmy's always the name, and I was like, but I've just used it. Little Jimmy, you know, little Jimmy's hurt his leg, like little Jimmy's hurt his leg, and he's in Connecticut or something.
Oh my god.
And then like, oh, it's okay, you know, go to bed. And the next morning, the mum of little Jimmy calls her. She's like, yeah, and she's like, did anything happen? It's like, yeah, he was on a soccer field the other day, and like, you know, fully sprained his ankle or something.
God, and some people are really connected. Just
and so this 3-year-old kid, because he's grown up in this like spiritual hotspot, and he hasn't got the conditionings of any Western society yet.
Yeah, he hasn't been dulled out, and
no, so and it's kind of it's like, oh, this is undeniable.
That's
but
quite
it's crazy.
beautiful.
Sure. Yeah, no, mad. Wow, going well. Oh no, this is what I was going to say though. Those kind of people who are really focusing on surrendering to waves, or in touch with, okay, my soul, I'm just a soul floating through, and I don't have to get concretely connected to this material reality. I've certainly seen and witnessed people who will have that naturally, and I think by organically letting it kind of foster within yourself, it's kind of safe, more or less. You'll figure out how to navigate, how to not be cemented in this reality but still exist within it, be in this world but not of it, Jesus stuff. But a lot of people, there's always an allure of, if you recognize the power that side of things has, to kind of rush and chase it. You know, psychedelics are a good example of like, if those substances can maybe put you in a far more, what's, you know, scientifically neuroplastic state, or like just more, wow, for an hour or two here, I am the stardust, I am just back in the ocean, right? That can really fragment a mind, I think. You know, it might look, and it might be diagnosed as, you know, bipolar, schizophrenia, whatever, but I can see how that works, and that's, I guess, the risk of like trying to inorganically chase.
That's true. I think there's like,
So I always like question for myself, and especially talking to others about like, you know, this is the true power, this is what it's all about, blah, blah. That I think is true to the extent which I can comprehend it and then act and live as if that's the case. But like with anything, there's always the dark side. Are you saying like
mind altering things are like just...
Or just even perceiving yourself as that soul floating around, and the fact that, you know, you can just almost, it's about the surfing, not the like paddling, but then you still have to paddle, you know what I mean? And you don't want to be cemented in this reality, but you still want to be living life, because the flip side, if you go too hard, fast, is just...
It's a fine balance, because also, like we said with the surfing, like you still need to line yourself up and get yourself in the... Because then you get
crushed by the wave.
Yeah, you still need to get yourself in the right spot for those things to happen. And as well, I think also a lot of it is self-care. The more you put into yourself, the more you get rewarded in a way. Like you always see that as well, especially...
Because you see, like, my head's going to people who like stay in their rooms and do psychedelics non-stop.
Yeah, it doesn't really work out for them, because it's not like
or like
self-care. Even
like musicians who are just like, you know, riding the train and like drugs and music.
If you think of like those type of guys, I'm gonna do like a guys and girls, like very stereotypical
girls who are just like, oh, I'm a fairy prince, but they're like just completely giving their body to everything and like completely fucking...
No, but on the other end of that, like the self-care, like highest version of yourself, I think of like stereotypically guys, like the granola guy it's been coined as, of like eating clean, going on hikes, you know, only wearing 100% cotton, just like being well groomed but in a very natural, organic way. I see that as like, he usually is quite successful in a lot of things and seems to be able to balance a lot of things, because I think he's taking so much care of himself as well, that it gets rewarded. And with girls, I see it like stereotypically as like, you know, doing like the skincare, but like pampering, but it's like still in a holistic way. And then you might see those people, usually those people seem to be in really good relationships, and they
Really
seem
though?
to
I
have,
don't know. There's such a
like, not like,
too perfect that it's kind of like you're a wanker and you're just putting this on.
I mean, yes, but no, the people who do it like organically, like the people who
don't post on Insta.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're posting it on social media, then you're not, I feel like, doing it for the
show.
self-care. If you see, just like if you meet the people who just like do things for themselves and then are still selfless, they just take care of themselves a lot. Like the people who, even if like, as for me, like if you just have like a bath or just like writing, reading, like taking care of myself, it seems to, that's my idea of taking care of myself is, you know, mentally relaxing and then also taking care of myself by
do you think that
being productive.
What's the balance there of like, because that's all good and right.
It's like self-love.
Self-love, sure. What I certainly see a lot of, not always with the granola guys or the spa girls or whatever, but like it's self-love to the point of I only have enough love for myself.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if it's actually organic, then it's even more, I think you're even more generous with your love, because the more love you have for yourself, the more capacity for love you have for yourself, then you have that, you kind of almost, I think, like open your capacity for love because it gets wider and then your love is stronger in general.
How can that be gauged though? Because again, like
I don't think it can be
I think
gauged.
in theory
it's just
that
like
works, but like everyone I see around me, or at least on social media, so maybe that's the link who's like going to the gym and eating right and posting it all, will also be the same person who like doesn't respond to messages and like like, you know, might tell themselves of setting boundaries, but just like doesn't have time to hang out
think
or
it
whatever.
it depends.
So it's almost like the least self-lovey people are the ones that have the most love to like just be a good friend or be a good lover. And it might be very imperfect looking and they might kind of destroy themselves in the process of loving others, but like...
Yeah, I think it destroys yourself if you love like that. Like I think if it's all would go warped if you had not a lot of self-love and then you gave all your love to everyone else, then I think you would almost have quite like a small existence, being like a slave to everyone else in a way.
But is that not better than just like loving yourself the whole time and then...
I think it's just like you should kind of equalize it.
Yeah.
Like, and also self-love can be things like maintaining good relationships, being productive with your life. That's all nurturing for you. The stronger your connections and like friendships and relationships are, that's also, I see, as like a form of self-love, because then you're happier, you're taking care of things that are important to you.
I really think the social media thing is the
yeah, because the people
because like people project, like people subconsciously or consciously know that that's the case, so they'll post the gym selfies, they'll post like selfies with them and a kid or like a pet or something. And it's like,
well, I think if you're trying to look
the part,
like perfect and that you do all of those things, but I find a lot of, I don't know, it's hard to do social media organically.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not that, like, I wouldn't want to do social media as a job or like that into social media, so I don't really know. It's not really of interest to me necessarily. I think social media is detrimental to like maybe physical body stuff, but other than that, I haven't actually thought too deeply about it. I just think making jobs out of social media is also such an interesting thing. Just like I haven't thought about it much, but it's such like a weird concept to me. Like it makes sense, but it's gone so far that like the pendulum has to swing back at some point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to go. I guess people have started doing like social media cleanses and things like that, but I'm just really curious about the pendulum going backwards.
Well, I think the reason why it's come, I didn't plan on speaking about this, but I guess the place it's come from is that natural forms of socializing have atrophied to such a great extent that there's such a gap in the market essentially for like, which can therefore be productized for people. Like, so I think about myself. I do have really good guy friends, but just the nature of life and how we operate, we don't, as we would have probably like 50 years ago, you know, me and my guy friends would have all lived in the same little town or the same suburb or something, never really left, and we'd be going to the pub 2 or 3 nights a week, and we'd be just shooting the shit and blah, blah, blah. We don't do that. It's like optimized to be like, you know, I'll see you and we'll go for a crazy adventure or massive trip or whatever, and we'll talk. But that means that kind of natural urge is be a dude is now outsourced to me listening to podcasts of other dudes
speaking,
who, again, the optimal dudes shooting the shit, you know, like a Joe Rogan or something. That's why it's popular, because it's like you need access to dudes shooting the shit, but instead of it being my buddies who are whatever normal guys, it can be like the ultimate guys doing that, and you know, you leverage that to millions and millions of people. So that's a really weird one. I don't know how you...
I think, like, I immediately thought of, I think it can be healthy for guys in terms of, in the construct of society, it's hard to, and also with, like, sides of masculinity that struggle to be vulnerable, it's hard to maybe get those deep conversations. So
but
that's
I don't think
why...
you need the deep... I don't think the deep conversations...
But I think we have a
shallow conversation.
Oh, maybe. But I think, like, some sort of form of connection, like, it could be good for that in the society we live in. But then I also think shows like Adolescence and things like that showed how it's detrimental in some ways, because if guys aren't having that connection with their friends in real life, and then they turn to maybe toxic podcasts which are telling them about like extremist views, and then they adopt that too quickly and too readily and get so influenced by it because they might not have those solid connections with men in their real life, and they're listening to and turning to podcasts of influential men to balance that aspect of not socializing enough with men. I think everyone, because we're social creatures, everyone needs to socialize, and it can really warp people's brains when they don't have enough perspectives. And with friends, like, there's also an issue with the small town people, because if everyone in that small town has the same perspective, then you're not really getting an outsource of perspectives. So that's why also podcasts can be good. I think they're just a very like black and white. It's either really good or really bad with podcasts, it seems to me.
Yeah, I wonder what you think of this idea of like, listen to this, and the context they made was in dating, but I think it works for anything. It was like, go short, or sorry, stop short or go long. So the context they framed it in was in finding a partner. Like, say you're from a tiny town, and you know, tiny town and out, like, you know, rural Victoria or something, and then finally you move to, you know, you move to cows. You know, I know a few girls who kind of done this. They grew up on a farm or something, moved to cows. And cows suddenly, like, you know, has a big pub and restaurants, supermarkets, and all this stuff. So you're like, wow, this is the best, right? This is, you know, way more than the farm I came from, right? Now, if you want to stay there, never leave. You know, find a guy or a girl, never leave, be happy with what you got, blah, blah. Because if you start down the process of settling in, you know, a regional hub or whatever kind of first thing you find that's good to you, if you start that process and then you go on a trip for, you know, a month
your brain is
to Paris, suddenly you're blown wide open. And you go back to cows and you're like, oh, this is a dump, right? But I've already got a mortgage and maybe a husband or whatever, a wife. So what happens then? You get divorced, or you kind of sit in kind of, oh, I am just mediocrity itself, you know? So either what they were saying, and I think it's way harder nowadays with the internet, to stop short. But if you stay in the middle, you're cooked in almost all scenarios, middle class, middle love, whatever. So you have to go long. You have to then not stop at Paris. You go to Paris, go to London, go to Rio, live in the jungle, do everything possible. So then finally, you know, it might be 10, 20 years down the line, you can then make a really good decision of, well, I really like Nairobi. Like this gives me everything I want. I know myself from this process, and I can rightfully choose that
I do like this, but also like in a less extreme way and in a more accessible way to a lot of people. I think this is the importance of being well read as well, because the more you read and the more perspectives from all over the world, it's quite accessible to go to a bookstore and be able, and a lot of books are translated these days, to be able to get a lot of perspectives from all over the world, a lot of different genres, everything you can imagine. So I think that's also an importance of reading, is traveling's obviously super important to get those perspectives.
And you're right, it doesn't have to be in the that's just the travel line of thinking.
No, but I get what you mean. And if you, like, a lot of these people who come from small towns might not be well read as well, and therefore they get like trapped in this.
But it's the same in Melbourne. Like, you know, Melbourne is a small town on the scale of relative to the cities of the world. Like, I can stay in Melbourne and never really think about leaving and, like, you know, be caught up in and blah blah, or like the other thing. And you might happen to choose Melbourne, probably not, right? Like, but I was watching and I was like, shit, like I'm way too far into this to now stop short. So I can't be content with the kind of okay place or okay job or okay girl or whatever, because
you've seen it.
You've been in the apple, you know, you have to invent farming. And
there's also, like, you don't want to get too far where you get unsatisfied, kind of like the people who get plastic work done or something to their face, and they might start with something and then, like, well, now I've seen how good it can get, I'm going to go for it. Like, there's
the same with the fragmentation I was saying.
Yeah,
like,
everything in moderation is literally what I like.
It's everything in moderation is the answer, but
to everything,
it's very
honestly
hard to, like, be satisfied with moderation. By definition, it's moderate.
Yeah, which is why I think, like, everything
so biologically we want to stand out.
But almost everything that's, like, good for you and things is hard in a way and challenging. Like, it's also easy in a way though, because say, like, the people who are like, oh, you need to eat really healthy, and that's really hard for a lot of people to eat really healthy. Well, everything in moderation sort of eases that a bit. So there's some, like, sometimes the extreme is, like, even traveling all around the world is expensive and can be difficult and, like, logistically hard. So everything in moderation, like appreciating your hometown while appreciating other perspectives, is taking a bit of everything in moderation. So even though it's difficult to be able to get the balance right, I think the actual, like, living in moderation isn't difficult. I think it's just about controlling the scales rather than once the scales are even. I think that's quite, like, peaceful. In my perspective.
So yeah, you're playing the internal game rather than the external game. Like the extreme thing, the right answer in the external game of what is the best city for me to live in, or who is the best partner for me, that's an external game, and you're kind of rewarded in external games for.
But you're never going to find, like, if the extreme is like, I'm going to find my soulmate, the best partner for me, you're never going to find them. You're going to be chasing.
But you can make very good guesses, because if you've only dated one person or three people, for instance, so you, like, but if you've dated 50, then you when you choose someone, you probably have a good.
But also, like, everything in moderation, I think, ties into this, because say you're like, okay, I'm going to get the best person I can for me, then you might have, like, some non-negotiable traits. You might have some things like,
and that's the point. How do you find out?
I must be attracted to him.
Yeah.
I must.
How do you find out
whatever you want. But then you also say the person has traits that you might not like as much, but they're not non-negotiable. Like, but you might not like them as much, but it's a moderation of compromise. It's not he's going to have all the checklists and none of the things you don't like. He might have all your checklist, but also annoy you by chewing loudly and, you know, some pet peeves that you don't like. But you need to accept the moderation of.
So I guess my question is,
that.
How do we go about drawing those lines in the sand and saying, I will stop here, and then actually stopping here?
Well, it's like the grass is, with relationships, I think the grass is greener is kind of vague. I think if you're happy and I think just before you meet anyone, you should have, like, an initial checklist. Like, you should have your non-negotiable things. So, for example, like, mine would be, they need to be, like, generous. It doesn't mean they need to make a lot of money, like a salary cap, but I want them to be generous with their time and money and with people, and just have that trait. I want them to be ambitious. I want them to, you know, I don't know, you have like certain things that you set before you meet someone, and then you might meet someone and they check off those checklists, but then they also might have a downfall, like, I don't know, they might be...
Try not to say something that...
I'm trying not to say something too personal. No, honestly, I also like, my partner doesn't have that many downfalls that I can think of.
They might have purple eyes and you're like, oh, I hate purple eyes.
Yeah, for example. But I also like, I
Targaryens.
literally couldn't even, that's actually quite cute. I couldn't even think of a downfall in my own relationship. But like I would say for me, I can fall into like being lazy and unproductive. And dating me, I might have some good traits of people, but that could be a downfall to me, is that like, some days I'm just lazy, but that's not a deal breaker for a lot of people. So
interesting. Okay. Well, while we're here, you said last time that like you were kind of recounting, and I know you don't want to get back into your life story and stuff, but you were kind of recounting your relationships. And, or not, you weren't really getting into it, but one thing you said was your relationships so far have kind of been this...
Are you talking about romantic?
Yeah, this bit like tracked journey of you becoming vulnerable. As in like, I remember you saying the one that you left at the airport, like that leaving at the airport moment was the most vulnerable you guys had been in the whole relationship.
Like by far as well.
So like, how is that process going? Not so much the relationship stuff, but like your own...
My vulnerability has gotten a lot better. I also think with like, it's expanded now to be a bit more with friends and family and things like that. I used to really struggle with even like vulnerability in terms of like affection with my friends or things like that, like being like an awkward hugger, being like, just like in general, just awkward with any sort of sense of vulnerability. Everything was sort of jokes, don't care, not too serious, nothing's too deep. Whereas now, because it's been like constantly developing as stronger and stronger in my relationship, it's made it stronger just internally with friendships, and it's easier to have deeper conversations and share experiences. And a lot of my friends, I didn't even register that they don't even know half the things. Like, your close friends should sort of know maybe your past and
Did any of them listen to that podcast?
I don't think so. No. I hope not. But like, they should know a bit of like your significant, not necessarily traumas. Like, I don't like to think that I have anything that's traumatized me personally. They should have the context of... But they should have like things that have been hurtful and why you are the way you are, and just little things that you should probably tell people about your life, that I realised that I hadn't really told that many people other than the people that were with me at the time, but I might meet new friends. I don't need to like initially tell them, but instead of almost like hiding it away, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter, that happened years ago, like you weren't around, doesn't matter, I don't care. Because there's some things that's like, they should know about. So do you think so clearly your expression of love and connection has changed and evolved. Do you think the way you perceive and feel internally that love and connection is any different, and it's just the expression, or has the evolution of the way you express that externally actually like kind of backwardsly reverse engineered the way you feel it internally? Yeah, sort of. Like, I appreciate when people are vulnerable with me now. Well, it's kind of like what you mean.
We don't understand. I think what I mean is, if someone, we invent language. This is so weird, but like we invent language. Like I struggle. Like, human brain struggles to understand something unless it can name it. For instance. And distinguish it. So back in the day, like, this is such a terrible example, but in the Iliad, like, you might have noticed if you read it, they call it the wine dark sea. Did you notice that?
He like puts adjectives in front of everything.
Right? Epithets. But so the wine dark, because they didn't distinguish the colours. So for them, in their linguistic structure of the world, wine dark was like that kind of darker
Burgundy,
tone,
yeah,
right?
maroon.
Which obviously we associate with this color, but they didn't have a distinguisher between the greens and the blues as well. So
Right.
everything that was wine dark.
Yeah.
That's not to say back 2,000, 3,000 years ago, the sea was red.
Yeah.
But
To
they
just-
didn't have the
yeah.
words for it, so therefore they couldn't. And it's hard to put yourself in the mind, but the distinction between that color and that color was
that
not
makes
as clear.
sense.
So I guess what I mean is now that you can attribute words and express the way you love and connect with different people, do you feel that's internally revealed that love and connection to yourself in any way? Like before it was just hazy, like you didn't have the words for it, and now it's like, wow, I really have more appreciation and understanding? Or has that internal state not really changed at all?
I feel like I've always been appreciative of, I've always felt love from other people. I've just struggled to, so I feel like the receiving has always been there. I've just struggled to get it out there. And maybe like there were definitely phases where I really tried to block people. I didn't want to receive love. So even though I knew that people did try and give it to me, I would try and like push it back and almost push them away because I didn't want it. I didn't think I deserved it. So therefore, like, I guess now maybe that's open to like, I do think I deserve it and I want to give it. So I guess it's just more like a mutual.
And is there anything significant that's made you now want to think you deserve it? And I imagine that's not a
That's
straight 0
not
to
like a
100.
defined
Yeah.
thing. I think that's also
Is
just
that
part of
self-love
like
practice kind
yeah,
of stuff?
yeah. It sounds all cliche and things, but yeah, definitely. And just also like I think you love yourself more when you do things that are suited to you, and you align with the things in your life, like in all elements. For example, like I want to align with the place I want to live. I want to align with the friends I'm with. I want to align with my job. I want everything to feel fulfilling and feel natural. And if something doesn't serve me in that way, then it's like a self-love practice to make sure that everything feels fulfilling and nice and good. And so therefore, just like having that, I don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because I think I hear a fair few people, you know, the classic is someone will complain about their job and like, you know, the classic image is someone just being in such a job that they hate and stuff. And therefore, by accepting that as like, oh, but it is what it is, you see those trends of like their standard for their life is lower than it probably should be, and therefore their relationship isn't as good as it could be.
Yeah.
Not that their partner isn't the good person, but like
Their
the way
standards,
they interact.
I have had this realization really recently
And what you
because
accept is just what you get.
because I was realizing with things like work, I was definitely coming to this realization of like some things don't align with me. I've been pretty good at it with friendships in the past. I'm quite good at like...
Because you actually tested, but...
Yeah, it's easy to read people as well. It's easy to feel when you're with someone that you don't necessarily align with them. So I think with friendships, it's been maybe easier to be like, I want to hang out with this person because right now where I'm at in this phase of my life, we align well together. And with relationships, I think I've been at least... Like I haven't had that many experiences or like romantic situations. So like I've had a lot more friendships than romantic partners. But I definitely think even like the other day, I was literally bringing up with my partner, not to get too personal, but I was like, you know, I have standards and I want the X, Y, and Z to align with these standards. And I say it quite clearly. And if there's ever like a disagreement or a mismatch, it's not like an argument, it's like a discussion of this doesn't align with me, what are we going to do to work on how it can
Okay, this
align?
is perfect because that flows straight into the big question I had about your relationship. And I know you didn't want to talk too much about your relationship because it is personal stuff and there's always room for, you know, stepping on toes. But I, for one, especially in this current chapter, don't feel myself to have a lot of room for other people, especially in that big intimate position. And I get the sense that more than probably ever before, that's the position that a lot of young people fit in. because we're so in a sense, and again, it can be really unhealthy, it can be really good, obsessed with our own stories and our own journey. And you know mine, and you see it everywhere, right? Like I'm working on myself, and whether it's gym or career or whatever. Now I have the privilege of being a guy, so I can kind of get away with that for a good decade, and it probably will serve me well to do that for a while, because then, like, when it comes around to starting to add room for, I've actually built myself into the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
For girls, they kind of get punished for doing that. But hold on, the story. You're not a not ambitious person. You might, I guess, like the laziness might like help, and like that whole perspective of not wanting to be cemented too hard in this reality and the success and all that stuff. But certainly, do you have any tips for me and any others who feel like they're in my position of like, you're trying to build a life with Ryan, but that obviously needs compromise and just time and energy that you're spending together, and emotional stuff that you're not spending becoming the best mortician and running $1 billion mortician empire, right? So how is that
think if you have that predetermined checklist of what you want, and then you just stay single, and then if you meet someone, and if you're like questioning, first of all, refer back to what you
get that
thought,
checklist?
Like literally, like,
because that checklist, I can like,
no,
for
but
instance,
come up with like your dream person. Like, you know that when you were younger, you had like I had like a Disney prince in my head, and you have like, everyone sort of knows what they want. They know what they're attracted to in terms of personality, and like some people want an extrovert, some people want an introvert, some people want someone that's very friendly with other people want someone who's like closed off to everyone but them. Everyone has sort of like, if you really thought about the elements of different people, they have a preference, and I haven't really talked to anyone who doesn't have any preference. So then you literally just try and write down every element of someone, and and there might be like for example, I'm gonna actually use my relationship as an example. But for example, every box checked, but maybe like he doesn't read or have the same interests in terms of what I do hobby wise. So then maybe at the start, I was like, oh God, like what am I going to do? We don't have the same hobbies. Do we have a lot in common? What am I going to do? And then I realized every other checklist is checked.
The important ones.
This one, yes, it might be deemed as important in terms of like for conversation.
It's like secondary or tertiary
and all that. But also I have friends, I have family, I have a lot of other people that can fulfill that role. I don't need that person to check every single thing that I've ever wanted in any sort of connection, because I have other connections in my life that if there's one missing, I can check that off. And also, as long as he's someone that like the more primary checklist for that would be someone who's open to listening and learning, which is something he does check off. So even if he might not have like an interest in reading the exact same books, it's like I have other people to do that. But if I want to talk about the books I'm with, he's not going to shut me down for talking about things. Or even this morning over breakfast, I used his phone to play a video that I wanted to watch on what makes a dictatorship, and it's all sorts of like facts on dictatorship and history and all sorts of different things like that. And he like
is there to watch it.
He's there to watch it. He doesn't mind that I want to play this over breakfast.
So would you say, because this is the kind of framework I have in my head, and I'd love to lay it out and see what you think of it. You kind of have to figure yourself out in however you do that. And again, by going long, whether it's reading books or traveling the world or whatever, of like, these are my, say 3 to 5 big primary tier, like, this is what this is what my dream looks like. And then you also should
have some like non-negotiables.
Exactly. So it's like, I want them to kind of be this level of attraction to me and this communication or whatever, like the big things that really are like values and the way you live your life. You can definitely have secondary and tertiary things, but of course, if they're not ticking off all of those, it's like,
and then I think also, sorry to cut you off, but also you should really, with this dream checklist, you should really also work yourself up to feel deserving of that.
This is the thing, because this is where I think it comes into play and it's a bit different. And again, I don't want to open this thing, and I'm pretty sure you more or less agree with me, but there might be some people who hate hearing this, but like on the dating sexual marketplace, girls peak value, or it's just
marketplace.
the economies, right?
Yeah.
Like girls have inherent value, guys do not. Guys have to build their own value. Not to say girls can't build value and guys don't have inherent, but brass tacks.
Okay, you're talking about like girls are valued for attraction.
Girls are valued straight. I mean,
on this marketplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like biologically, when you're young, you value valuable. Guys like kind of need resource and stuff. Like, and again, not need, but potential. Anyway.
Yeah.
So in my head, it makes sense that the best thing girls can do is be super picky, because they have everyone throwing themselves at them. Be super picky until they...
Also, like, you're saying this is related to attractive, by like conventionally for men, attractive women have people. Okay.
Girls are always at the same ranking of attraction going to have 10 times more potential suitors. That's just a fact.
Okay.
Whether you're this level or this level of the attraction scale. And maybe that like kind of gets weird at the very bottom, at the very top, but those are like the ends of the bell curves. So I've always thought that a young, attractive girl, like her main priority is like to be very, very picky until this fucking Prince Charming comes along, and then she can maybe, which is kind of what you've done, right? And then for a guy, it's like, don't get distracted by anyone who's not this. And if you find this, you probably don't have what it takes to get it. So just like build yourself up into the, whether it's internally and externally, till you can like deserve this. And then when
but you want to be like each other's. I think it's like that person that you're dating should also have their dream person.
And of course.
So you want to feel like it's a mutual, like you've both found your dream person sort of thing. And it also, it doesn't mean for a guy, I think they get caught up in like I'm not successful enough, I'm not blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you can do that together if you're...
But it's a potential thing.
It's like your foundation. Like, you don't want to necessarily date just for potential. I think that's like especially bad for...
forced into it when you're 23 or something.
Yeah, like I think that's especially bad for women to be like, oh, his potential is good, I could like tweak a bit. But
no, but I think potential should be potential of external stuff rather than internal stuff. You can't you're not going to change their
that's what
values
I mean. Like
and the way they communicate and stuff.
The really core things about someone, it doesn't matter how much their salary is or the kind of things that men are valuing. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 15 and you're meeting some girl in high school, your core values are probably going to stay pretty similar. You might, like, maybe not 15, but like maybe after you see in the world a bit. But yeah, you're going to have these just intrinsic values and beliefs as well, that, and just way of acting. Like, you can't train someone to be generous. You can't, like, things like that. You might have a big salary as a man, but some people are very guarded with that. And like, for instance, for myself, it doesn't matter how much money the person is making. It matters more how they view that. And so therefore it doesn't matter if someone, you know, has $2 because they're 20. It matters more about finding out while you're dating. I
guess the thing is
how
that
they view them.
A lot of those internal things, like female attraction, is so much more inbuilt on the external. So you can kind of see, okay, this girl's hitting the attraction shit, and then let's look deeper. And a lot of guys don't look deeper, at least initially. It's like the main problem, and it's kind of bad for the girls involved as well, because then they don't have the cues to evolve in that way. But like, look deeper at like the internal things. But for guys, the internal things aren't recognized initially, so they'll get swiped away, quite literally. So that, like, I think there is value in guys prioritizing, not prioritizing, like valuing the external stuff. So, but only if it's, I'm caring about the external stuff, so I get my foot in the door to then show what's actually important. Yeah,
I think guys, like with dating anyone though, it takes a bit of time to know what their values are, because they need to, it can't be like spoken. You don't want to get, I wouldn't go on a first date and be like, what are your intrinsic moral values? Are you generous? It's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. It's like, I think that if you're dating someone, you should set, for example, I'm just going to use this as my example. If I'm dating someone, like I'm go from single to dating, I will say within the first 3 dates, I am dating for marriage, or I'm serious if I get into a relationship, and therefore I will not get into a relationship with you until I really know you. So that's usually like 3 months, I would say, which is like what I did not recently, but with this. Yeah. Anyway, so about 3 months, I feel like I know someone enough, I've met them, and then I'm like, okay, but it means that like I don't want a situationship. I don't want that. It's not like I'm not getting into a relationship with you because I want a situationship with you. It's like, you must know that if we're dating, we're getting into a relationship and it's going to be serious, but I don't want to rush that because I don't know you and I don't want to get into a relationship with someone that I don't know them.
But in the modern world, that requires a lot of self-belief and valuing yourself to like uphold that standard of this is going to be non-committal, but what's the term for like?
But I think it's just like you can literally word it as like. But I think it's so easy, like what people.
Because if they're not willing to go to that thing, it's like, well.
The reason why people get caught up in situationships and all sorts of things is literally just because they're not communicating their wants and needs properly. If you said to a guy on a first date, as a girl, this is how I view relationships, this is what I want, and he didn't want that, then he probably wouldn't want to date you again. If he just wanted a situationship and you didn't, and you could establish that from the get-go, then like easy done, don't talk. But if you're like not wanting to tell him because you don't want to come across as a certain way, you don't want to be too demanding and etc., then you're going to be stuck in this like, oh, but I think he likes me enough to date me, but like I'm not sure.
Yeah, it all falls down when people don't have the willingness to stand up for what they.
If you don't, like, you're probably not going to really, like, it's not even awkward. In my idea, like, you're dating for the purpose of finding a potential partner. Everyone is doing it for the same reason. If you're going on a date, you're both mutually trying to find someone to date. So I don't understand why it's like a taboo to talk about it, because you're both, why are you both really there?
It's kind of this sense of like, I'm here for the valid. Like,
yeah, like so are they.
Yeah, but so are they. That's
why else are they there? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, because they're there to go on a date with you and to see what you're about and what you want out of this. So then if you both talk about what you want out of it, then you're both going to know straight away.
Yeah.
And so then I think when you're past that like 3 months of dating someone, then you actually date them, and then you can like grow and learn together, because you know and you're set and committed that their values match your values. And there might be hiccups along the way, but if you grow with them, you don't have to be like fully successful in your career to date someone as a man. I don't know, people like you can have self-worth while still being like in the potential.
Are you okay?
Yes. Am I going to talk on my own?
You can if you want.
Hey guys.
Yeah, you can talk.
No, yuck. What was I going to say? Let's talk shit about him. No, reality check. They're like, I'm on a podcast. Well, okay, I was just going to say that I forgot. That if you're dating someone and you get feelings for them and it all checks your boxes and you want to be committed to them, then just grow together. And also like, you can be clingy in like a affectionate way, but you don't need to be clingy in like a life way. You don't need to be with them for every thing. They can go off and see their friends and build their own relationships, and as in platonic relationships, unless you're, I don't know what people do unless you're swinging, but you can do whatever. Don't let me hold you back. I've given up. I don't know what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
Everyone date whoever you want.
It's so funny because we're like, I don't even know how far in we're in this. But anyone who gets this far, it's like, I mean, they probably listen to the first
probably only that stalker at the cafe.
So what, you might have already said, but do you have any tips for girls, young girls? If you're
my God, stay single until you meet someone who absolutely sweeps you off your feet. stay single, get cats.
But this is the thing, the advice logically is always stay single until the
But like,
thing.
no, everyone, oh my God, I witnessed it so much.
Then I
People
guess-
dating, dickheads. Like, I don't know, like someone needs to give some girls, like, I want to give them a personal lobotomy to like switch up. Like, I don't know what they're seeing in these men.
But they get the validation.
I understand you might get the validation, but get it from anywhere else. I don't know, start a hobby that you get so good at that you get validation from
Would
it.
you rather a girl date a dickhead and they get her validation from this dickhead, or stay single and like
stay single
Christian,
till you die?
but do an OnlyFans and get validation from people paying you?
Probably you're getting paid. I don't know.
Like a solo OnlyFans, so you get the validation from that, or a dickhead boyfriend.
I honestly kind of think the OnlyFans, I don't think that's a good option. But I'm like, maybe it's less like personal, like a dickhead guy will just break you down. I've seen it with so many friends. They'll break down your self-worth so much. Like, I haven't had this personally happen, but the amount that I've seen it happen, I'm just like, can someone wake these people up, or what is wrong? There's a grey matter in their brain.
I don't think of myself as a dickhead guy, and if I was to get in a relationship where I would be a dickhead guy, I would stop that relationship rather than become the dickhead guy.
No, but guys,
what is that? What is in that world?
I actually don't know, but I've seen the harms of it. And
from the girls, what are the harms?
The harms is like, they just have so many doubts. They question every single thing that they're doing. They develop such bad anxiety. They have no self-worth. Like,
because the guy's like, not texting, and then like on a Friday late at night, it's like, you up, and
yeah, even like they get into a relationship and they stop complimenting them, or they do anything that just like is very, if you have feelings for someone and then you're starved for that validation, it's just like a natural human response to try and get that validation, and like then start being like more and more clingy and trying every method to get that validation because you're starved from it. And it's like those
so does it start very lovey-dovey from the guy?
Probably, yeah, probably. He probably, like, it's not, like, I hate when in relationships people are like, oh, you should just leave though. Like, I'm not saying, is it hailing?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm not saying...
Good to be in Melbourne.
Yeah. But it is nice, actually, weather to film this. I should put a candle on. But I'm not saying... I hate those people that are like, oh, they should just leave, you know, like, he's obviously a dickhead, just leave. It's like, obviously the women in that relationship, they're not stupid. They're in that relationship because the guy has given them something to latch on with and use their traits and that girl's personality against them. They've used their kindness, they've used things, and the guys usually do it subconsciously. Like,
because the guy, I don't think dickhead guy feels good about himself either.
No, it's like the guy's usually not conscious of how much harm he's doing, because usually he's just your average guy. He's not really like a villain or anything bad, but he's your average guy that's not seeing how destructive he's being. He wants this girl who's nice and kind and is giving him the validation because she's chasing him because she's starved. So then he's getting validation and ego and dopamine boost. Oh my God, I have this girl who like won't leave me alone. I'm treating her like shit and she doesn't even care. She's still coming back to me. I'm so good.
That's the thing, because, and this sounds exceedingly arrogant, but I just fucking back it. I don't see myself as an average guy almost at all. And the times that has been the trajectory, I've noticed that. And there's part of me, the average part of me, that feels like, good. Ooh, he's like, oh wow, like
I have this girl.
Kind of, but I'm willing to like say no to, you know,
because
plenty of the kindness and the sex and all that stuff, to not see more of me empowered by the average part. But if you don't, as a guy, if you don't see yourself as top shit, then that he's like, oh wow, I must be good because I'm getting
also
this.
Like, maybe it's because I was listening to the dictatorship this morning, like that little video, but
that's all on a political scale, isn't it?
But like, yeah, even on a political scale, like, men will sort of have this power hungry just desire. You don't really see female dictators or females or women that seem to come across as so power hungry and wanting this control.
It's the wounded little boy. That's why I see it all the time. It's this wounded little boy who, for whatever reason, doesn't see himself, hasn't built this foundation of evidence, whether it's from the way he's parented or from the way he's lived his life, to like have this love and or not love, but admiration and self-respect.
Yeah.
Yes. That they will be willing to be the bad guy in exchange for.
And they're not seeing it, and I think in their subconscious they're also thinking, because a lot of guys say this when they're not the guy doing it and they're seeing this kind of relationship, they're sort of like blaming the girl, being like, well, why is she still with him if she's so unhappy? Why is she still with him? And so I think the guy subconsciously in that relationship is also thinking that if I was really treating her that badly, she wouldn't be doing this. If I was really that evil, why would she still be here? And I think that's, you know, that's just the mentality of, which is quite one-framed and one-minded, which is not putting themselves in the perspective of a girl who might also be wounded and seeking validation because she's been starved in some other element, and whatever, the wounded boy is with the wounded girl, and it all is a shit show.
Yeah. So how does the girl, or and the guy, whichever you're interested in saying, heal those wounds?
I really need to pee.
Okay, go for it.
Go ahead and take
I'm not going to talk to the mic.
Are you rolling?
Hello. We are rolling. All right, we're taking a little break because.
Do I have anything in my teeth? Like brownie?
Nah, not a big one.
Not a big one.
No, you know, you might have like little white stuff in between, I think maybe, but nothing visible. All right, we're taking a little break because the phone was almost dead, and we've been going for a while, and I'm sure both of us were rambling to no end because you kind of get in the groove, hey?
Yeah, you like forget that this is a podcast. When you left to the bathroom, I was actually saying to the camera, like, whoa. On a podcast.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun. And again, the depths of it, yeah, I just assume no one or very few people are listening to the depths, but that's the most fun for the people, I think. You know?
It's fun to do it and talk about it. I really hope that I don't listen to this back and die inside again. I almost flipped out and had a panic attack, and not because I think many people are going to watch it. It's literally just anyone. It's more like personal people that watch it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
I had a few dozen listens.
Don't say that, please. Also, it's just like I couldn't even listen to it because I was so bored of the last one. I was trying to listen to it in the car and I got bored. I think I turned it off.
Yeah, I listened to it the other day. Maybe in two sections, like, you know, once and twice, and it was good. Anyway, let's move on from, you know, dating and stuff. Yeah, last topic of questions I had was just about we haven't mentioned it at all, but you're studying literature.
Oh, yeah.
And you do writing and short stories, and yeah, like, what's the go? What talk me through the process. So for context, you send Mum and I like these short stories that are maybe 4 or 5 pages. I imagine about 1,000 words each. They're really good, and like the perspectives, like the characters and the lenses which the story is told through, feel very human, and like any good piece of fiction, I think it's normal but not normal. It's like normal stuff taken to a certain literary extreme to kind of get an idea across. What's the process of creating those stories?
It's not anything too complicated. If I have an idea, I'll think about it. Say if, like the other day, there was some guy who came into the cafe who's so funny, just such a character. And I immediately to my coworker was like, he is going to be implemented somehow in a short story. So
they know the short stories, the people that were.
They haven't read them. Like the only people that have read them are like a couple of my friends, if that, and then you, Mum, and Ryan, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I'll like get inspiration from anywhere. It could be like any writer gets inspiration from literally, like, could be crack in the road, I don't know. It's a good one.
Crack in the road.
Like in the gravel. Anyway, and then I will literally just write, and I always say, this is something I do with everything. I'll say, oh, this is just my first draft, I'm going to perfect it, but this is just my first draft. And then I'll do the first draft and just send that off, and I'm actually just too lazy to perfect it. There's one story I actually really do want to work on, which is like the Parisian old lady one, I really didn't like get into enough deep dive elements. I definitely could expand that. But there's some that I like that they're more natural. They're literally,
It's like an artist's sketch.
yeah, but I literally will just either type or write it. Sometimes I write I like writing ideas first, like maybe, but other times, like the most recent one, I literally just typed it and it doesn't take long at all. It's usually one sitting, like I will just be sitting there typing, maybe pausing to think.
Are you like creating images in your mind? Like
I don't even know how it happens. Like, to be honest, I literally just write it. Like, I couldn't even explain it.
Flow state.
Like, yeah, if I get into that state, I find it really easy to write, and then I read back on it, and then I'll be like, oh, that's good, and then I'll send it off. And usually I'll always in my head be like, oh, that's a first draft, but then I don't really go back to it. So I guess it is sort of the final draft. But I do want to have all these poems and short stories published eventually as collected works, more of a coffee table type of book. But also the way I write, I like making it a bit weird, a bit quirky. I really am inspired by a lot of Japanese literature at the moment, and a lot of the time the theme in that is sort of normal people, normal thoughts, but then it's twisted, it's a bit weird, it's a bit funky.
There's a director, I don't know if you've come across him. I don't think you were the person who was telling me about him, but he made this famous in filmography movie of like, I think it was called Normal People or something. Well, that's the show, I think, but
yeah,
it was kind of about a very normal dude and a very normal situation, and it was like really shot very, anyway, it was like, that's the only touch of Japanese stuff I have. But yeah, what's going on with Japanese literature? What's the allure for that? Just because it is so down to earth, normal stuff.
It's like the way that a lot of the Japanese authors I've been reading recently, it's literally just like a weird quirkiness to it. It's an underlying, they like making things a bit like, instead of say normal, the book I'm reading now.
Why should I read Japanese literature?
If you want a different, something fresh, something new. It's almost like I say it's like Japanese food in a bit. Like you get like the umami, like you have something a bit different.
You've been having pizza pasta your
you're not having pizza pasta. It's fresh. It's complicated flavors working together.
Oh, like just like the food is actually fresh, like raw fish.
Yeah, it's like that sort of feeling of eating Japanese food where it's different to what you might normally eat. Like even a miso soup, it's like comforting, but in a different way to a pumpkin soup. It's not. It's like light but comforting. It's really, they're easy to read, they're not like. So, for example, my two main inspirations would be Dostoevsky for writing, because I like the first perspective, and I like them spiraling into insanity a little bit. And
what does that mean?
I like it.
Who is Dostoevsky for a layman? Like, I've tried to, and I can't read it. Like,
well, with Dostoevsky, like it will be quite a normal, usually a poor man, probably inspired a lot by his life in Russia, and they'll have quite mundane or even a lot of hardships and things, but then the perspective of the world is so eccentric and then insane in a way, and scattered, and just like, even with names, like a lot of people find it really funny that he'll have a name for someone and then have nicknames, but he never discusses that they have nicknames.
But that's a Russian thing.
It's such a Russian thing, but like even it adds to that level of like, what the hell is going on right now, in a cool way. And then I like tying that in with a lot of like, there's this author who wrote this book called Revenge. It's by Yoko Akagawa, I think. Pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, smart cookie.
Maybe. And she writes these short stories which are intertwined, but they all have like a twist at the end, but then all the characters somehow bump into each other in these like separate lives in short stories. And it's really cool. So I like the fresh take mixed with the old Russian take. I like to kind of combine them, and that's what I would say my writing style is inspired by.
Yeah, okay, Russian and Japanese.
Russian and Japanese mixed to have this sort of twisted, dark thing, but I like the insanity and the spiraling and the first perspective and not really being able to trust the narrator, with also the more clean-cut, fresh, but still has a weird sort of pang to it, a weird underlying current.
So what would you say your goal in your literary expression is? If, let's say, your stories from now until forever, and it might be because you're posthumously, famous, but let's say like a lot of people read them. What would
I would
you
hate
say?
that,
But what would you say like your intention is?
I really think
What message would
reading
you like to be
literature
getting
is,
across to people?
in those types of books, you feel really seen to a depth, like a core. Everyone is weird and quirky, and all those sorts of things are so natural, but people struggle to express them. So just reading something and you fall almost into the book and see yourself reflected back and just have this like connection, not so much with the characters but with how they view the world. I like being like, oh my god, someone kind of thinks the same as me.
Or
And
thinks in a different direction, but to the same weird, eccentric
Yeah.
intensity as me.
Yeah, because so many times, like, if you just are existing, you don't really hear people's thoughts as being eccentric or being anything. And then also transporting, like, that element of transporting and unnatural things. Like, I like doing something dark or twisted, and I like using a lot of metaphors for things. I wrote this one that you read, and it's sort of a witness of a toxic love spiral, which I didn't really go into enough of their relationship, but it was from the witness's perspective, and they were going insane about this topic, but then the metaphors at the end is like they were consumed with their insanity, almost like it was like a stalker level, and then they were consumed. And so there's metaphors of cannibalism is like the most common one of, consuming or being consumed, and it's like this murderous, twisted, but it's up for interpretation. It's not a concrete murder story. It's more like
losing me in the literary commentary analysis.
No, but it's all just sort of a bit whimsical, but in a dark way.
Do you think that every single human has the same levels or a significant depth of eccentricity and
I would like
agency?
to believe so.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard. You meet people, and normally the people I don't find myself drawn to, I'm like, it's hard to imagine you having eccentric thoughts, but I also
you
like...
seem so much like an NPC.
Yeah, but I like to believe that they do in the little corner of their brain that they haven't connected with yet. I like to imagine
Haven't
that
connected
they...
with to the extent of being able to connect
Yeah,
with
well,
themselves and then express that out.
Exactly. Like, I think everyone can have that little like box unlocked. It's like a treasure chest of... So I like to believe that everyone has it in them, but people don't release it or accept it within themselves often enough. But then, yeah, some people you meet and I'm like...
Similar to your ability to express your own love and connection, as we talked about earlier, do you think this has your ability to express outwardly and write and then share has improved, and that's just revealed to others what you always knew yourself to have, or has it grown that within you?
It's like for me it's really nice because it almost connects with my inner child, who in my last episode I was saying how I was sort of a weird kid and then tried to be more normal to be accepted, and then once that you're accepted you can release it in small doses to make it digestible to people, that little like eccentricity and whatever. So I think that now I'm at the stage where I've almost accepted it so much that I'm like, take it or leave it, and it feels really nice because it feels like my inner child is now free. and I can be myself and how I always was, but I've built a life where I can make that.
Do you therefore think that the ultimate tip to get someone to express that weird, eccentric part of themselves, and maybe by extension to be able to love and express connection outwardly as well, the ultimate tip, at least in your experience, is to then actually play the game of, you know, what society tells you and be accepted and stuff, so then you can be rid of it?
A little bit. I think
you need to get rich.
Like literally just everything in moderation. I think like not to fake yourself and do all that, but just adjust yourself to what, I don't know how to say it. Adjust yourself to your surroundings. Be smart, vigilant with who you surround yourself with. If you think someone's open to that type of person, then, you know, you might have a better connection with them, and then have that foundation of connections with those people who are more accepting.
How are we? Good. Oh, it's done.
Oh, it's been ages, yeah. I could yap forever.
Okay. Let's wrap it up. What are there any particular topics or stories, or like, is there a novel we should expect? Like, that's in your heart or on your mind, or is that?
I'm considering, not that I think it will be popular and people will read it, but I kind of want to publish something under an alias, just because I really don't want if I'm writing and wanting people to read it, it's so not like something I want to really be attached to. No, not even ego. It's like, as in, I want to put it out there, and then it can do what it needs to do for other people, and that has nothing to do with me. It's almost like once I've released, it's not my business what people want to do with it, and therefore I don't feel like my name being attached to it serves any purpose. In my eyes.
Do you think it's harder for people, it's going to be easier or harder for people to digest and therefore use it if they have no attachment with the creator though?
But I think like people honestly usually don't really care that much. Yeah. I know when I'm reading, I don't need to deep dive into who the author is and what they've done with their lives, because I'm connecting with what they wrote, and I'm connecting with the author through that, and that's what they want me to connect with. If they wanted me to connect with their personal life, I would be reading a biography.
More often than not, it gets in the way.
Yeah, I just think it's pointless for my life to be attached with that, because also I write, it's not like, it might be inspired by things that are in my life, but it's not characters that are me. It's not me as a character in this fiction. It's like whatever character I've dreamt up is living a completely separate life. So even though I've written it, it's got nothing to do with me, and therefore anyone reading it, it doesn't matter what I'm doing with my life.
That's an epic perspective. And you just said you wanted, like in your notes, you had a thing about fate versus choice.
Oh, I feel like we've already gone through that though. That was literally just like, what I discussed earlier.
All right.
Cute.
Done. That was a long one.
Oh, there should be an award for whoever stuck around.
Yeah, I'll listen to it. I'll have to listen to it to edit it.
Anyone who's stuck around this long can get my book when I publish it.
Well.
God, I just burped, but...
It'd be cool though, last question. Since the last episode, let's say it's been 9 months, and you've evolved to a certain degree. If we do another one in 9 months, do you think you're going to have evolved more or less?
Well, honestly, I would say probably less, but that's because, like, I think the older you get, the less, like, you know, when you go from like 10 to 11, and from those ages you change so much, whereas maybe 20 to 21 you don't change as much as 10 to 11. I think the older you get, the less. So has this felt like a
particularly changing, tumultuous, like, you know?
Not really. I don't think I've changed that much. I think I've always thought this way and had these thoughts. It's just maybe I've like...
ability to express has evolved.
Articulated them. I've got more into writing things in my journal and being able to articulate things better and have mental clarity. So I think it's like I would say I've matured in some ways, but I think also a lot of these thoughts I've had for years and years. It's not any new
Cool.
things.
I'll see you in 9 months.
Oh my God. What will I be doing in 9 months? Do I say bye? Or you paused? Bye.